Fully Threaded Radio, episode 140.
Well, Bri, it's a beautiful day in Northeast Ohio. We're heading off. It's not going to be a typical day at the office today.
No, and that's just as well, because I come over here every year for the same social. I love it. Meet lots of people I know here, and I also managed to fit in a little bit of early season fishing just beforehand. So
yeah, we have all the important things covered.
This is a good way of setting up the whole distributor social thing.
Absolutely. Brian and Eric, we're heading off to the NCFA Social. Started off by a hot heading tour, and then off to the Brighton Open House. We're taking you with us. It's Fully Threaded Radio, everybody. Thanks for clicking in.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. If you buy, sell, manufacture, import, distribute industrial threaded fasteners, this is the podcast for you. We're glad you clicked in. Lots going on in the fastener industry these days, everyone, and we'll delve into lots of that on this episode of the podcast. Hi, everyone. Eric Dudas here. I'm joined, as always, by the now very well-known Brian Muskie Musker. You doing all right, Brian?
I'm doing good. Thought you were going to say infamous for a short moment there.
Well, that would apply too.
But you don't actually have to buy, sell, or distribute. You actually can be just interested in fasteners, and this would be the show for you as well.
Very true. Welcome, one and all, to Fully Threaded Radio. This is episode 140, and we're publishing this time on May 21st, 2019. As mentioned, there's lots going on, and it's another really pretty full episode, Bri.
Yes, I know.
The big news that everyone's talking about is the increase in the tariffs that were announced just the other day. And we'll also be talking about the North Coast Fastener Association Distributor Social, which happened recently. And the tariffs were quite the buzz there.
Yep.
So if you're operating out there and you need to hear what other people are saying about this, you'll have a pretty good bead on what the industry's thinking after you hear today's program. It was great to have you out here for the Distributor Social, Bri. You come pretty much every year, and this year we had that. We'll be talking about it more. We had a full day of activities, but one of the good parts was, in addition to getting some business done, had the chance to have dinner with some pretty interesting people and got some fishing in as well. So we really had the full boat this time.
We did, literally and figuratively.
And you even made a few appearances on Twitter to document your visit, which was even more of a bonus.
That's right. That came after our visit to BBI, but we'll go through that too later, okay?
That's correct. The feature segment on the podcast today is a conversation with Tim Action Jackson of Action Fasteners. This is a conversation I've wanted to have for a little while now, and Tim reached out to us and said this was going to be a good time for him. I think you'll find it very relevant no matter what level of the industry you play at. Tim recently sold his business, but he's staying on for a few years, and he's very glad about that. It's all a very nice arrangement. He's got some comments on what's going on in the industry right now, and he's free to voice his opinions. In every sense of the word, he's an independent operator now, Bri.
Yeah, that's right. It was a good conversation.
Then, as mentioned, Brian and I will discuss the NCFA Distributor Social. We'll launch that off with a few sound bites that we recorded that day. And we'll shift gears then to a discussion with repurposed materials entrepreneur Damon Carson. Now, if you think you're the only one who's had a difficult time moving overstock threaded fasteners, wait till you hear this discussion. We speak to someone whose sole mission is to handle this sort of thing, and we'll hear his experience.
Yeah, that's interesting too.
Mike McNulty is out on assignment for Fastener Technology International this episode, everyone. But fear not, because we have Rick Peterson of All-West Components and Supply with us to recap the latest Fastener Distributor Index numbers. An unexpected but welcome rebound last month, Bri.
Yeah, I noticed that actually. It's still a little tentative, but that's another thing we can discuss relative to Distributor Social, because that was discussed frequently there.
Yeah, I heard some of that myself. We'll also do our best to fill Mike's shoes and present a few of the latest industry news headlines. Not guaranteed to be the biggest, but we'll do what we can. Plus, Carmen Vertullo discusses an issue that was quite a buzz during the Fastener Quality Act days and remains an important consideration, and that's commingling. That's on the Fastener Training Minute.
Wow, commingling.
And if all that wasn't enough, Morgan Wilson from the International Fastener Expo stops by to give us the latest on this year's Vegas show, which is happening in September in Las Vegas at Mandalay Bay.
Right, you could say Morgan leans his surfboard up against the wall and comes into the office.
Yes, he's getting that reputation, isn't he? Is that well earned or well cultivated? We don't know, but
No, I think it's earned. No, he was doing that when we were down in Costa Rica. He took a surfboard down there. So it's not just talk, this is do.
several men of action on today's episode then, Bri.
True.
And fortunately, you now have the chance to be a man of action as you share with our audience the many fine sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio.
Right. We're very lucky. We have great sponsors. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stealfast and Brighton Best International. Stealfast, for service you deserve and people you trust. Brighton Best International, tested, tried and true. Also sponsoring Fully Threaded Radio are Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, Fastener Fair USA, InSequel Software, International Fastener Expo, ND Industries, Parker Fasteners, Volt Industrial Plastics, The Worth Group, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. Thanks to all of you. Make sure you do business with these people, okay?
Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to all of you for listening in and making it all work. Please let us know what you think of the podcast, or if you have suggestions or ideas to share. The email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com, and you can catch occasional comments by us on Twitter. The handle there, Fully Threaded. Brian, in the interest of getting things rolling today, I want to squeeze in two pieces of business right here at the top of the show before we launch into our NCFA coverage.
Mm-hmm.
We just made this announcement along with the Fastener Training Institute. The FCH Sourcing Network is pleased to announce that it has joined in with the FTI for the 6th consecutive year to announce a scholarship that's going to send somebody to Fastener Training Week, where they can earn their Certified Fastener Specialist credential. Now, the way this scholarship program works is there's actually 5 winners. One person wins the whole thing, and 4 people win partial credit. Plus, this year, the FTI's got some other prizes they're stacking on top of that. Everybody who enters also receives a webinar through the Fastener Training Institute. All you have to do is put together a 300-word thereabout essay on why training's important for your career. Send it off to ftr@fullythreaded.com by, let's see, what is the deadline this year? It's a little early this year, Bri. August 30th, 2019. Winner will be announced at the Vegas show.
Right. So if you are an owner of a fastener company, or you have people working for you and they may not have heard this announcement, you could do some of your workmates a great favor by telling them about this, because it's a great way to get a leg up in the industry. These training sessions, everyone knows them, that the certification is really the great thing that you can get in this industry. And it's not that hard. You just have to write a coherent, short essay on why this training course would be good for you and how it would help you and how help your company. I mean, it's expressing why this would be a good idea. And of course, it is a good idea, so it shouldn't be that hard. All you have to do is get into gear.
You can get out to the Fastener Training Institute website where you can see the details for this. Also, the press release is being widely circulated through the usual sources. So if you still can't dig it up, send us an email here at Fully Threaded. We'll get this off to you. But we look forward to receiving your entries. The lovely and talented Lynn Dempsey, along with Sue Rice, are the judges. They do a very good job every year. They take it quite seriously. And again, the winners will be announced at the Vegas show in September. So the second piece of business I want to mention, everybody, is that following the Fastener Training theme, we're happy to announce that we've repackaged some of the Fastener Training Minute segments that Carmen Vertullo produces on the podcast, and we've created little bite-sized YouTube videos out of these. We've got the first handful of them that are out there on YouTube now. And we'd be very interested to hear your feedback, everybody. Are these useful for you? If you get out to YouTube, just search on Fastener Training or Fastener Training Minute, something similar to that. They'll come up near the top. And we'd, again, be very grateful for your input. Are these worthwhile? We think that they are, but they're a resource that we've made available, and we hope to continue doing more of this sort of thing.
Yeah, I thought for one terrifying minute when you talked about repackaging, you're going to say we've repackaged our old Vegas 2 years ago dog biscuits into new packets. So we're going to give away 2-year-old dog biscuits and fridge maggots that don't stick.
Yeah, we have kind of a sorry history of giveaways. We're still never going to live that down if you keep bringing it up on the podcast, Brian.
No, I shouldn't really, I know.
We're gluttons for punishment, but I guess we love it. And we also love the fact that you're listening into the podcast, everyone. And this is really becoming something that, it's bigger than we ever thought it would be. We were reminded of that at the NCFA Social, which we will begin discussing when we kick off the next segment. Thanks for listening, everyone. It's Fully Threaded Radio.
When people think Fastener Talk Radio, they think, but then they think of Fully Threaded Radio. Talk radio for the fastener industry.
At Brighton Best, we continue to expand our wide range of products, including stainless steel and metric fasteners. Our family of brands include Preferred, U.S. Anchor, and Ironclad Performance Wear. BBI has been a trusted partner since 1925. With award-winning hand tools, gloves, and drywall screws, BBI is the largest master distributor of fasteners in the USA. Tested, tried, and true. We are Brighton Best. To learn more about Brighton Best, visit brightonbest.com.
Need fasteners? Fully Threaded Radio listeners know that StealthFast offers over 12,000 fastener items direct from stock, including bolts, cap screws, nuts, screws, and washers in a variety of finishes. Per print, specials, and standards, StealthFast has been a global sourcing leader since 1972. As an ISO-certified supplier with facilities across North America and Asia, each member of the StealthFast team is dedicated to supporting fastener distributors with the highest quality products and service possible. That's why the motto remains, for service you deserve and people you trust, it's StealthFast.
Hey mates, Brian Muscat. Regardless of the required size, material or finish, Eurolink has the European resources to meet your demands for hard-to-find metric fasteners. We're the one-stop source for all of your metric needs, saving you time and money searching for these parts while fulfilling all of your requirements. How do we do it? Eurolink offers access to more than 100,000 quality C-class parts with the ability to solve your toughest metric fastener supply issues every time. Hard to find metric fasteners? Delivered. Just think of us as your heavy metal rock stars. To learn more about how we can rock your world or request a hassle-free quote online, visit eurolinkfss.com. That's eurolinkfss.com.
My customer sent me a print for a bolt specifically for the machine in his shop, but we can't make it.
Solution Man can. Provide me with the print, and my superhuman CNC machining team will custom make it for you faster than a manufacturer's rep drinking at an open bar. Visit the Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Wow, that is fast.
So are you at the Distributor Social, huh?
SOLUTION, SOLUTION. Solution Industry. We are solution.
Hi, this is Jackie with Stealthfast in Chicago. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Well, I suppose it's appropriate to speak to, I guess you could consider yourself the godfather of the NCFA Distributor Social, Marty Nolan. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
So far, so good. Well, Brian and I just arrived here at our first stop, Woden, Inc., and we were talking to Kristen. She was explaining what we're going to see this morning. I guess hot forgers are a little more quiet. It's going to be a less noisy experience, I guess, than our typical cold heading experience or cold heading tour that we go on, isn't it?
Oh, you're still going to hear noise. There's still parts being made, but yeah, it probably is less noisy than the cold headers that you visit. But there's still plenty of noise, but I understand it's underneath whatever OSHA requires, so it's all good.
Yeah, well, these tours are always great. We always come away with a lot more knowledge than we used to have. But getting back to the social now, so what is this, like 11, 12 years or something? And I think this was all your brainchild. We beat the crowds here, so we're waiting for folks to show up. People are slowly starting to get here. Oh, Ken Sanker just arrived. But you must have a really good feeling today.
No, it's really good. We have really good sign-ups. I know not everybody that signs up will end up showing up because of conflicts or something comes up, and in the next breath we'll get people that didn't sign up. But the numbers are somewhere between 250, 300 of people that have signed up.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good showing. Yeah, and I was involved from the beginning. You know, I got to give credit to George Hunt, too, because it was, when he was president of North Coast, we were trying to come up with a way to attract more distributors to our events. And we just started shooting ideas out and came up with the Distributor Social, and I think this is the 11th year.
Well, it's always a lot of fun. I've made a bunch of them, and I'm glad to be here for this one. Well, before I cut off on this segment, let's just point out that you did a really great job on our last episode with your interview with Brian. I tell you, we've had, I think, record feedback on that, so thanks again for doing that.
When you get to interview Brian Musker, it's pretty easy. Yeah, it really probably could have gone twice as long. We still not have covered everything, and I'm sure people have fallen asleep if it had been. But Brian's just really fun to talk to, and I knew that interview would be easy to do because of how interesting the guy really is. So I was very happy to get to do it.
Congratulations again on this, and we'll talk to you, I guess, maybe after the tour. How about that?
Sounds perfect. We'll talk to you then.
Marty Nolan. So, as I said, we're here at Woden, Inc., and that's here in Bedford Heights, Ohio, and I'm speaking with Kristen Olub. Good morning.
Good morning.
You have a pretty important role here at the company, don't you?
Oh, I think every role is important, but yes, I do. I'm the vice president here at Woden Incorporated.
Well, thank you for inviting the NCFA, and I don't know if you know what you've gotten yourself into, but oh no, it'll be fine. You have a great spread here, and people are filtering in. What are we going to see here today? You've already explained a little bit of it. Some of it is extremely large, a lot larger than we normally see at some of the cold headers we visit. Some of it isn't even fastener related. It's quite diverse here.
Woden is very diverse. We do what's called hot forging, and we use the presses of press machines and upsetters. There's very rare to see upsetters. Most people are used to seeing press and hammer when they talk about hot forging. But here we actually have upsetters, which allows us to do several positions in one block. It allows us to do long shafts. We have different kind of fasteners of different lengths. We do what's called a common die run, so it saves our customer money, so I don't have to change out my dies as much. But yeah, you're going to see warm forging today. We got some torsion bars on the warm forging, hot forging. I got T-bolts. I got some studs going on there. I have some hex bolts out there. So it's going to be a really nice show and a really nice gamut of different types of K500 Monel, 4340 alloy, 660 out there. So you're going to see one of the biggest variety you're going to see out of any companies.
Well, I'm getting a warm, fuzzy feeling about this somehow, as you described that, if that's possible with your elevator pitch on that. Well done. And now you were mentioning to me a background in international negotiations, and in particular with, you said in your past with Chinese companies. Have you experienced anything that you can comment on regarding what's going on now with the trade situation in your business?
Yes, the trade affects us all. Mainly when it affects us, it does come from the mills. It is hard because right now, with all the tariff in places, it is causing a little bit of riffraff. We are seeing effects mainly when it comes to lead time. Some of my steel has not been affected, but some of my more alloys and my carbons have been affected more, as we've been noticing going forwards.
But as it relates to competing products that would come in from Asia, are you seeing any kind of a change in your business? In other words, does it seem to be benefiting you in any way that the tariffs are in place?
Beneficially wise, yes. I actually have one customer that might be coming back to us that did leave us, that made some really nice tube forgings. They were very simplistic forgings. Quotes have been up, but I haven't seen a lot landed yet. I know the last of the tariffs haven't completely into effect, so we're kind of just holding off to see what does happen with that.
Well, we're all sitting in our own places in that whole situation, and we're all watching things fly by, so it's always interesting to hear perspectives. But Kristen, I look forward to hearing you. I hope I'm on your tour, and we'll talk again.
Oh, absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Well, I'm standing here with Wally Rajenovich with Dayton Nut and Bolt, and we just completed the tour here. What do you think we just saw? What, in your opinion, what did we just see?
Good old American manufacturing.
It was breathtaking to behold when those big machines were pushing down on that hot metal, weren't they?
Very, very interesting work. I mean, too bad I didn't know about them a couple months ago because we had this huge military job that we machined instead of hot forging. Would have been a great product. I mean, Marty is their rep, and I'm like, Marty, I go, how come no one knows about it? He's like, I didn't know about it.
Well, he got you here, didn't he?
Right. No, he did a great job, I think, through the North Coast Fastener Association, getting him on the tour schedule, which is a great time.
100%. Well, I mean, that's what these things are for, and it's funny because you're not alone. I talked to several other people on the tour that had the same reaction, but this was a very interesting tour, and I have to say, it's really the first tour of this kind that I've been on where I actually felt like the protective eyewear was a requirement.
Yeah, it was very up and close to the heat and the forging process. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely a one-on-one encounter with American industry.
Yeah, it's a lot of work seeing those guys do what they do. I mean, it's a testament to guys really wanting to put the work in and earning what they make.
What's going on at Dayton Nut and Bolt these days?
Trying to cope with the tariffs that are coming down the pipeline and increasing. That's sort of been challenging now.
How's it affecting you?
Sort of uncertainty in costs of our product. We'll get a quoted price and then they'll change the price at time of delivery, and that, I mean, it's sort of standard, but it's been more dynamic over the last 6 to 9 months. Passing that cost on to the customer has been challenging. So our gross margins have suffered a little bit because of that.
Well, I'll hit you later at the social, and maybe you'll have a different way of phrasing all that because you just put it very diplomatically.
Yeah, sure. A couple beers in, I'll tell you differently.
Thanks, Wally.
All right. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, it was a great tour. I learnt heaps. Never been to a hot forging place in my life before, and it's really cool to see these bloody great big pieces of steel being, or Monel for that matter, being picked up and red hot, put into some big press.
It's amazing with all your life experiences that you've never been to a hot forger, and we picked up along the way a passenger. We're heading off now. We were going to go to Brighton, but I guess the open house doesn't start, so in the collective wisdom of the fastener industry, we're all going to a brew pub, and along the way we picked up Captain Morgan Rudolph as a passenger. Hi, Morgan.
How you doing, Eric? Good to see you.
Yeah, so far so good. I don't know about after this stop off, but we'll see. I guess Brighton's going to get more than they bargained for at the open house.
Should be a good time. They don't know what's going to hit them.
Now, where's your dad today? You guys are a duo.
He stayed back in Boston. He has a doctor's appointment on Friday.
Doctor's office. I hope he's okay.
Yeah, he's fine.
Good.
Okay. Yep.
There's probably some rugby game on. He's really trying to watch it.
I just hope he prepared adequately for whatever's going on with this particular visit. Okay, well, we won't pry any further into Rick's medical issues right now.
Anyway, we're going off to, I guess, the brew pub in Twinsburg. A whole bunch of it. Really, it's the MWFA people who forced this on us. And where I said Twinsburg, yeah, it's Strongsville. So really, it's the MWFA people who forced this, and we're following this caravan. And I guess we'll check in later. Morgan, you're the responsible one in the vehicle. Keep everybody safe, okay?
That's scary.
Yeah.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
And that was a little bit of how it sounded the day of the NCFA Distributor Social, Bri.
Right, it was.
I have to say, everybody, that really my original idea was we were going to be checking in all along the day, during the day. I think from that small montage that you kind of get the idea that idea went off the tracks. But it was a wonderful day. We started off at the Woden plant, made it over to the Brighton Best new warehouse, which is an incredible facility. Our tour guide on that was George Hunt III. He's a very knowledgeable and enthusiastic guy, as you know.
Yeah.
And then it culminated with the social itself, which started at 6 p.m. That was in Independence, Ohio, and it was very well attended. A lot of heavy hitters showed up, and it was just very good all along. As Morgan Rudolph mentioned there in that final clip, his dad, Rick, was not able to attend. Just want to point out quickly that, hey, Rick, the whole industry was behind you that day, and I know you're okay, but just figured I'd let you know we missed you.
Right.
So you had a blast, didn't you?
I did. And, that starting in the day, I was not, I've been to a couple of cold forging establishments before. I've never been to a hot forging place before. And it's sort of like one of these things where you go into part of the older world and then you get completely blown away, because instead of walking into a place where you've got old horses with blacksmiths banging on things, you've got some place where they're actually forging suspension parts for the Abrams tank and special forgings for the rotor of a helicopter and all sorts. So it's just to be doing this, you've got to have your act really, really, really together and be certified for years by the Air Force and the Army before you're allowed to make this sort of stuff. So clearly it's a really interesting establishment. They've got a great name. So it was a very, very great tour, organized well, very knowledgeable guide, and I was very impressed. I really loved it.
And one of the cool things was most of the people that I spoke to didn't even know that this company was operating really right under their noses. And so that proves, again, the value of doing these kinds of things through an association like this. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if they didn't get a few orders out of it, to tell you the truth.
Oh, yeah. Clearly, they're very capable. It's just, I guess we don't search for this stuff. And here they are, right, sitting in Cleveland, this place, making stuff that everyone else in the military knows about, and we don't.
Right. Once again, that company is Woden, Inc.
Yeah.
So then when we finally did make it over to Brighton Best International, that was a whole different experience. And the magnitude of the operation there, I mean, folks, a lot of you have been in these kinds of places, but if you haven't, I'm bordering on breathtaking. And it certainly is a contrast to the Forger. So we walked into this environment and learned a lot there as well. Of course, the whole thing was topped off by a really world-class barbecue lunch. Thanks, George, for that.
Well, George and Steve Andrasik, probably both of them, was very, very well done. And they showed us a lot of their new, the new stuff that they're getting into, including their vendor equipment. So the demonstration of that was that we were all able to choose our sort of random numbers and things. And if you got certain size washers, you got a prize, or we managed to get one of the preferred multifunction screwdrivers. Was my prize. And
yeah, that was a score, Bri.
It was. Well, I actually put it into action the day later. We had a little malfunction on our boat, and I had to use it. It was very, very capably to dismantle the stuff on the boat. So we did very well. And we were hosted very well. It's a great facility, huge facility, and it's been built with a lot of room for expansion. I think George is telling us, or George Hunt III, I should use his correct name fully, that there's a big tract of like 80 acres of land that goes with it, so they can actually expand. Very good. We had a good time.
we've had better weather for the event, but it was not bad weather.
No.
And the reason that's important, it's not just kind of an idle observation, is because typically people spill out onto the terrace. And since more people weren't out there, the room, it seemed more densely attended than usual. And it was good. I mean, there was a great energy in the room, lots of people, lots of conversation. And this was a great example of why the NCFA Social's become really an example of a successful event in the industry. Everybody knows it now. Congratulations, NCFA. President these days is Dave Audia from GL Hewitt. The whole board did a good job, I would say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a great networking event. And I talked to a number of people who've never been to one of these before, and they were just amazed by how many different people from similar industries you could find that you could talk to. It was very cool. But I mean, we're used to this if you've been going to this, the social for years, but to other people, it seems amazing.
Were you surprised your buddy Larry Kelly, the past president of the NCFA, didn't get up there on the podium and give a lengthy address? Was that shocking to you?
No. No, not at all.
Yeah, Larry was never known for really commandeering the mic, so little inside joke there, but he was there, and it was good to see the whole crew.
Yeah.
NCFA Distributor Social. We'll see you out there next year, folks. And if you missed it, well, now, before we turn the page on that topic, though, Bri, we finished the whole thing off. Carmen Vertullo came into town, and we all went out afterwards, or a group of us all went out and hit a sushi place that I guess they use through the IFI. Rob Harris used to take him there, and it was fantastic, and it was a great group.
Right. Carmen told us that this is the best value sushi, this side of the Rockies. And I think it was Josh Winkler from Eurolink Fasteners, who incidentally it was his first time at the social. And Jake Davis, who's from BTM. Jake's been there numerous times, a sponsor of the show.
And don't forget Jackie, kind of a big deal Ventura, Bri.
Yeah, I know, I meant to say that, sorry. Jackie, kind of a big deal in the fast industry, Ventura. And you, and went out with Carmen. So I was being a bit sarcastic to Josh. I don't think he's used to people with funny accents talking to him quite this way. But we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, which really funny accent was that?
It was mine.
Oh.
And
there were a few at the table, I noticed.
Right. So what I've established is that the boys from South Carolina definitely do not eat anything unless it's cooked, okay? So sushi was not high on the list of favorites for Josh, but...
No.
We found something for him to eat, or he found something for himself to eat, and we had a good dinner. It was a lot of fun.
Flathead catfish, squirrel, they like it all cooked.
Right.
We had a wonderful time with you guys, so if you're listening to this episode, thanks for dining with us. We learned a lot, and I think we all got to know each other a little bit better.
Yeah, I think we closed out the restaurant. We closed out the show, the social, I think, Nelly, and then closed out the restaurant. So good fun.
Oh, and the last thing that came out of that, unless it was just one of those ideas that goes away, which I don't think it was, we're going to have a new segment on the podcast coming up courtesy of Jake Davis. It was a little bit of a brainstorming session, so stay tuned for that, everybody. All I can say is it involves Jake Davis and restaurants.
Right. Another possibility that includes Brian Musker and Vegemite.
I forgot about that one. Oh, it was too much fun. All right. So let's shift gears now, everybody. And as mentioned, we've got something completely different at this point, although it's still fastener related.
Do the Monty Python thing. And now for something completely different.
Yes, this would fall into that category perfectly, Bri. This is the John Cleese moment of the episode. As we tend to do, we speak to people widely who are involved in buying and selling fasteners. I recently had a conversation with somebody really at the outer fringe of this endeavor, and that's Damon Carson of Repurposed Materials. Most people know that FCH Sourcing Network has its roots in trying to help fastener distributors move slow-moving inventory, odd lots, surplus, that kind of thing. And a lot of times we wind up scratching our head. Why is it such a challenge to do this? We've got this segment coming up with Damon. And I guess, in a way, it kind of answers the question. So we thought it would be pretty interesting to hear.
Yeah, and if you're just thinking of painting your house or your entire factory grey, you could be interested in this too.
That's right. Let's play that segment right now.
Okay.
Well, Brian, on the last episode of the podcast, we talked a little bit about how we started FCH Sourcing Network. Of course, it was still is known really as FastenersClearinghouse.com, dealing with a lot of slow-moving stuff, surplus inventory, dead items, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, right. We can't really even get away from that view, but still.
True. I mean, FCH does a lot more than just that now. We tried to repurpose the network as a sourcing network, but there is a big chunk of traffic that goes through the network that is involved with slower moving threaded fastener inventory. So I found it very interesting when a few days back I received a promo email from Repurposed Materials. They're a Denver, Colorado based company that's been operating for 9 years thereabouts, and picked up the phone and reached out to Damon Carson, who's the proprietor over there. Wound up having a really cool conversation, and figured, you know what, Fully Threaded listeners would like to hear some of his perspective. I think there's a kind of a good overlap here. And Damon Carson joins us now. Hey, Damon, thanks for joining us on Fully Threaded Radio.
Thanks for the opportunity, Brian and Eric. Look forward to it.
Cool.
Well, tell us, what is the repurposing story? I mean, I guess that's the best place to dive in.
Sure. So my background, we were in the garbage business, the traditional take it to the land business in the ski resorts of Vail and Breckenridge, Colorado. Ended up selling that company to Waste Management. Did a couple of other business ventures. And in 2010, I had one of my subcontractors come in and say, Damon, if you ever get a chance to buy an old advertising billboard vinyl like you see on the highways and the byways that say Budweiser, Coca-Cola, Chevrolet, you ought to buy one of those old vinyls. They make a great drop cloth for painting. And it just blew up in my mind. I was, wow, you can use something from the advertising industry in a very different way. And that ended up becoming our first product that we ever sold. And our mission concept was that to take used, obsolete things from one industry and find a very different second life for them in some other industry, hence the name repurposing. Easy examples are we now go around to fire departments around the United States and collect decommissioned fire hose, no longer good for fighting fires, but there's all kinds of secondary non-firefighting applications. Probably the number one repurpose for an old fire hose is to, you kind of like that ribbon candy at Christmas time. You use ribbon candy and good old eye bolts. So there's a little fastener sales pitch right there. And you bolt them into that fire hose into your boat dock. So it's a poor man's boat dock bumper.
Wow. Who's buying this stuff?
Yeah, it would be boat owners in that case that have docks on lakes or ponds or whatever. Another one we use, easy one to illustrate, is rubber conveyor belting from the mining industry, copper mines, rock quarries, etc. It's a wear part. It's heavy-duty rubber. It might start out 5/8 inch thick. It's, as I said, it's a wear part. When it wears down to about 3/8, it's too thin for them to convey. So they roll it up and it's obsolete to them. It's a discard. So we make deals at mines all over the United States, bring this in. It's an amazing variety of repurposes for that. A cattleman in North Dakota will put it vertically as a windbreak fencing. A lot of landscapers will buy a used conveyor belt from the mining industry. They'll roll it out across asphalt or across grass when they're running their tracked equipment on so they don't tear up the asphalt or the grass, so it becomes like a track mat. So there's several examples: the advertising billboard vinyls, the fire hose, the conveyor belt. Again, obsolete to primary industry, gets a very different second life, repurposing it. So that is our mission concept. We started 9 years ago, and we've just broadened from there, and all kinds of fun and interesting products that we now carry.
Yeah, the list goes on and on. People can get a clearer idea of this by going out to your website, which is repurposedmaterials.com.
It's actually repurposedmaterialsinc.com.
Right, okay. Like us, it's a very important difference, okay? So, Damon, who sits down and dreams up
a good repurposed use? Because you have to sort of mainly dream up these ideas yourself, or your company does. I mean,
interesting observation, Brian, and that's your observation is what most people say, and in fact, it's incorrect. We concentrate on finding materials and cast-offs of industry that are three words that we use. We look for things that are generic, versatile, and adaptable. And then we make those available to our customer base across the nation. What is very interesting, if it's generic, versatile, and adaptable, you never know if it's going to be the cranberry farmer in Wisconsin, the copper miner in Arizona, or the golf course superintendent in Florida that's going to see that material and say, hey, I could use that in my operation. I often say I eat cranberries every Thanksgiving, but I've never been to a cranberry bog. So I have no idea what operational problems are trying to be solved at a cranberry bog. But obviously cranberry farmers know that. They see some generic, versatile, adaptable material out there and they raise their hand. And we, as the salespeople, I guess, in this business, we get just as excited as anybody because we're like, oh my gosh, I play golf, but I never knew this was a problem in golf course operations, and they buy this material to solve a problem. So everybody thinks we have this R&D staff here, but in fact, we don't. We just have a large, diverse customer base that comes up with all these fun and offbeat, creative engineering feats with used materials.
How many of these repurposing engineers, I'm going to call them, do you have on your team, Damon?
So we have a head count of about 15, so we're not large. We do have 5 warehouses across the country. We have yards and warehouses in Denver, Dallas, Atlanta, Philadelphia, and Chicago. So if we procure a material in Minnesota, it would go to Chicago. If it's in Boston, it would go to Philadelphia. So if you are thinking about a map, when I mentioned those 5 locations, it's primarily a solution to logistics. There's no magic about Atlanta other than it serves the Southeast and et cetera.
Well, I was going to get to that point next. And so one of the reasons that for us, it's a very interesting model is that so you're warehousing all of the materials that you decide are a worthy investment for you to try to repurpose. And this is going to fold into the fastener world. So when you are evaluating a potential product that you're going to procure, you're going to put it in one of your warehouses or maybe distribute it across them. But you need to you're a little bit of a speculator in this regard, aren't you? I mean, if you have a tried and true commodity, then okay, that's fine. But to grow, you've got to take a few risks, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. The Dos Equis beer has the most interesting man in the world. My slant on that is I have the most interesting inbox in the world. So yeah, my inbox is full of all kinds of crazy, weird, funny things. And so we just evaluate it. Again, I already said it. We look for generic, versatile, and adaptable. And then if we think we can sell it, yeah, it's absolutely taking a risk. I joke, which it's kind of serious but kind of funny, is I don't have to go to Las Vegas to gamble. I just get to sit in my office and gamble different materials on, do you think somebody in the forestry industry in Oregon might want to buy this? And so, yeah, we, as you said, we bring them in. We own the materials, the assets, and some things sell in 2 or 3 weeks. And some things, unfortunately, have a birthday in our warehouses. We kind of have learned that it really takes about 6 months to kind of get a read on whether there's going to be a demand for a certain material. So I enjoy the game. It's very interesting. Sometimes it's maddening, but sometimes it's quite exhilarating when you find that second life for something.
Right. I think there's a few guys out there in the audience who operate their businesses a little bit the same way. And so there's definitely people can identify with what you're describing. Now, before we do get into a couple of your specific fastener examples, is there any product that you can remember where you thought, oh man, I'm going to turn this, it's going to be great, and you're still sitting on it, or you couldn't figure out why it didn't move?
Yeah, there's certainly, unfortunately, there's multiple stories in that depressing category. One of them that I came up on this about 5-6 years ago, and I couldn't sleep for 2 or 3 days because of excitement, but latex paint is a huge problem in America. So you can imagine probably, all the listeners have in their own garage, they have a half gallon of pink and a quarter gallon of purple and just miscellaneous latex from different projects you've done around the house. And it's a disposal problem. So, but think about it. That's high dollar paint. It could be $20, $30, $40 a gallon paint, Sherwin-Williams, PPG, Behr. And so what's interesting is if you collect all that paint, high dollar latex coatings, and you blend it all together, you get obviously not a lot of variety of color. Most of it ends up being battleship gray, but you still have a very expensive coating and gallons and gallons and gallons of it. And I got so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, you can get this stuff for not only pennies on the dollar, you can get paid to take in this latex. You reblend it into battleship gray, and then you got a high quality but inexpensive coating. And I saw dollar signs, and I tell you what, after about a year of trying, I learned that most people in America don't want to take that risk, or whatever the weird reason is. It's just that stuff.
Right. I was just about to ask, who buys this stuff, Damon? There's the answer.
Yeah, I'm ashamed, but a couple of years ago we painted our own house, and what did I do? I went and bought new paint because I don't know, it's just some phobia with coatings. So you can sell used conveyor belt all day long. You can sell used fire hose all day long, but paint's one of those. I mean, I've got several of those that are just, they're head scratchers as to why there's such I don't know if resistance is the right word, but phobia or whatever word that. But again, it's back to industrial gambling.
So you couldn't convince the wife to go gray on the house, huh?
Yeah. Battleship gray just wasn't it.
Right, but lots of other forms of grey. This is one of the new trendy colours, interior colours, all these different shades of grey. But I guess people are very, very picky.
But you think about a lot of applications, especially industrial painting. After all, paint, for most residential applications, paint is a decor thing. But there is many applications where paint is literally just a protective coating. It doesn't matter if it's black, battleship gray, or purple.
Yeah, that's true.
But,
that's true.
Just one of those hard ones.
So let's talk about your experience with fasteners now. When we were talking the other day, I guess you at one point made an acquisition from some of Fastenal's surplus, of which they have a lot. Brian and I know this. And that was an experience that you also learned from. What happened there?
So, yeah, this has been in the last year probably. We bought, I don't remember, 4 to 6 pallets of surplus fasteners, brand new in the box. Because of the number of SKUs, it wasn't all the same SKU on all 4 pallets. We decided, well, one of our sales channels is we produce our own auctions, online auctions to get rid of stuff at various points. So we thought because of the multitude of SKUs, let's just auction this stuff, brand new in the box inventory. I will say we bought this at an extremely deep discount. I would say 5 cents on the dollar probably. And so we put it in our auction, and I am sad to say we lost money on that deal. Even at auction, it probably brought 3 cents on the dollar. So it was a very humbling experience, a very disappointing experience. But it's not my first time. I think, Eric, in that original conversation, it's not a threaded fastener, but to me, a box nail is still a type of fastener. We did a deal for like a pallet of 8-penny box nails. I mean, about as generic, versatile, and as adaptable as you can get. And I think I bought them for darn near scrap metal price. I thought, well, how can we lose on this? And those things sat and sat and sat. And it just, I was upset. I was like, I cannot believe I can't sell a nail. But I don't know. It just didn't happen.
Yep.
Yeah. So
it's not getting your message in front of exactly the right people.
Yeah. I think I joked to you, Eric, when we were talking. I said, just like a little kid, when you touch a hot pan, you tend not to touch it again because you learn. And so far, fasteners and the reselling of surplus fasteners has kind of been a hot pan for me. We just haven't had a lot of success.
That's where it sits with you today, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying I won't try fasteners again, but it's kind of like the latex paint thing. Fasteners, in fact, I just had this last week. I had an artist, I think he was out of Arizona, who's whose median was he used fasteners in his artwork to make sculptures and stuff. And so he called, said, I'm getting out of the art business, I'm retiring or whatever. So he's got these boxes and boxes of these fasteners, and he wanted to sell them to us. And I kind of gave him the short version of what I've just communicated. And I mean, he was just dumbfounded. You know, I paid hundreds of dollars for all these fasteners, thousands of dollars for all these fasteners. I said, I get it. I said, they're worth about scrap metal. I said, it's just one of those things. It just defies logic.
Right. And that brings it up to the point where you and I were talking the other day, because I called you to perhaps get some insight into one of the things that we're trying to tackle right now with our FCH closeouts program. And this is a thing where we're taking another stab at trying to, I guess, fast track some of these slow movers and avoid a trip to the scrap man in some cases, where these products seem like they should have a likely home out there. It's just that connecting the party that is sitting on them with the party who may need them or may be interested in taking them, making that connection. How do you do it? And you're doing a lot of email blasts, really, right?
Yeah, so we have a wide following that we have an e-newsletter that comes out a couple of times a week. And yeah, we focus just on a lot of the fun, offbeat repurposes. People tend to really gravitate towards that. And I like to say it's like HGTV, Home and Garden TV, it's before and after. You know, the apartment looks like this. Now it looks like this. The back porch looked like this before. Now it looks like this after. And that's what we're doing with materials. So it's a very sticky marketing technique. And then, you know, so you got this audience. Our newsletter is opened by probably 45,000 people every time we send it. We send many more than that, but that's just how many open it. So it's a broad, diverse audience. And for whatever with repurposing, I think people are by nature, they're creative and they're frugal. That's our readers and that's our customer base. They're creative and they're frugal. And one of the ways we kind of talk about our business model is we call ourselves an industrial thrift store. That seems to be a good word pair to
beach junk shop, Damon.
Yeah, well, you know, Sanford and Sons called it a junkyard. You know, we're trying to more professionalize it, so an industrial thrift store. I think if you, Brian, used your New Zealand accent to say that, it would really sound really sexy.
Actually, the British TV used to have an old show. It was about that. It was called Steptoe and Sons, and and the Americans picked it up and call it Sanford and Son. Okay, but it was about what they used to call in Britain. It was be a rag and bone merchant. Okay, it sounds terrible, but that's their word for collection stuff.
Yeah, I just wrote that down, Brian. I'm gonna Google rag and bone merchant when we get off.
Rag and bone merchant. Well, you're a little past the rag and bone. Someone selling parachutes is not quite a rag and bone merchant, okay? But
well, you know, but hey, we got to know from whence we came.
Yeah, you've hit a main line of obscurian minutia here, Damon.
Yeah.
Well, we have been called Screwford and Son before. So you're getting close with that. And but I'll tell you one thing that I do like about your attitude of this whole thing is you find a lot of fun in it and you're really into it. You could tell the enthusiasm that you bring to this. It's just something that you're always on the hunt and you really like it. So there's a speculator aspect to it, you know, but there are rewards to that too. And you're finding them and you're helping a lot of companies out. And we had I really enjoyed our conversation, so I'm glad we were able to take a little piece of it and share it with our audience. And it's possible that some of our listeners may have products, not threaded products, of course, because they put all those on FCH, but a lot of other things that might be appropriate for repurposed materials. Again, the website out there is repurposedmaterialsinc.com. And Damon Carson, you'll be glad to talk to him.
Yeah, absolutely. So first step in the whole process, if you have something that's obsolete, it's no longer good to your industry, it may be used, it may be new. First step is pictures, details, quantities, make, model, just basic information. We review that quickly and say, hey, we think we can make a market for this. And then the negotiation begins. Sometimes we offer $100,000 for an inventory. Sometimes our offer is we won't pay you anything for it, but we will pick it up, because a lot of people and a lot of these assets they're literally going to throw it away. Yeah.
There you go. All right, Damon, Carson, Repurposed Materials. Thank you so much for talking with us. And I think our listeners will take something away from this for sure, and we'll be talking. Maybe we'll strike upon some idea that nobody's thought of yet, and we'll come up with yet another avenue to try to help the fastener industry with its problem of some of the slow-moving inventory.
Eric and Brian, appreciate the few minutes to visit with you guys.
Okay, it's our pleasure, Matty.
And you know where to go, Brian, when Lynn wants to paint the house, too.
Battleship Gray.
Yeah, Damon, you might have a whole market out there among the colorblind community.
Yeah, there you go.
Or the U.S. Navy.
Or the U.S. Navy. There you go.
Thanks again, Damon.
You bet.
Stick around, everyone. There's more Fully Threaded Radio coming your way. Need fasteners? Fully Threaded Radio listeners know that StealthFast offers over 12,000 fastener items direct from stock, including bolts, cap screws, nuts, screws, and washers in a variety of finishes. Per print, specials, and standards, StealthFast has been a global sourcing leader since 1972. As an ISO-certified supplier with facilities across North America and Asia, each member of the StealthFast team is dedicated to supporting fastener distributors with the highest quality products and service possible. That's why the motto remains, for service you deserve and people you trust, it's StealthFast.
Since 1905, Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company have been supplying the world with high-quality fasteners. Our standard product lines include weld fasteners, braided weld screws, leg levelers, self-clinching hardware, clevis pins, rivet nuts, and various other fastener lines, allowing us to support virtually all types of industries. We have complete custom manufacturing capabilities in low carbon, medium carbon, and stainless steel materials, and our quality systems are registered to ISO standards. Our on-staff engineering department can assist you with product development and provide total technical support. Our knowledgeable sales team members offer superior customer service and are here to answer any questions you may have regarding our products. Having a hard time finding a part? Let our sourcing specialists do the work for you to locate those items. We offer competitive pricing with typically smaller minimums and shorter lead times. To find out more about Buckeye Fasteners, please call us at 800-437-1689 or on the web at buckeyefasteners.com. Buckeye Fasteners, more than just weld.
ND Industries has been solving customers' toughest problems through innovative technologies, competitive pricing, and industry-leading service since 1955. A family-owned business, ND Industries manufactures and applies fastener locking, bonding, sealing, masking, and assembling products. Their pre-application process makes fasteners ready to use at the point of assembly, resulting in reduced labor costs, time savings, and superior quality assurance. As a fully integrated company, ND handles all aspects of operations, from formulating custom chemical compounds and coating fasteners to providing inline inspection, packaging, and delivery services. ND Industries serves the global market with 13 divisions in the continental U.S. and also facilities in Taiwan, China, and Turkey. Learn more about ND Industries at our website at www.ndindustries.com. ND Industries, innovative technologies, competitive pricing, and industry-leading service. Contact ND today. Searching for a hard-to-locate, fill-in, or oddball industrial fastener item? Get out to the FCH sourcing network at fastenersclearinghouse.com. FCH is the search engine for hard-to-locate fastener items. Free to use, over 1.5 million fasteners. That's why we call it Scroogle. It's the FCH sourcing network. fastenersclearinghouse.com.
This is Baron Yarborough with Spring Bolt and Nut Manufacturing, the best beard in the business. Sorry, Chris. And you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian Musker, Eric Dudas, back with you, doing the job most fastener people won't do.
Okay, which one?
That's Fully Threaded Radio.
Oh, okay.
Well, we always like to scoop Mike McNulty at the top of the news segment a little bit with a few tidbits. And even though he's not here today, we'll throw a couple of them out, and then we'll do the FDI report, and then we'll throw a few headlines at you, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Got my spring issue of Link Magazine in the mail, Brian.
Good. I have too.
We are digital kind of guys, but there's nothing like the hard copy of Link Magazine. Comes in handy in certain settings, for sure.
Like when you're sitting in an airplane, actually, flying to Cleveland.
Exactly. Page 99 this time, U-Bolt Blend Coffees made the headlines.
Okay, good. So tell me what?
Headline, BTM U-Bolt Coffee, a big hit. Story begins, many of you have indulged in BTM Manufacturing's U-Bolt Blend Coffee. The meaning behind the coffee runs much deeper than its bold flavors. Yeah, I wonder who wrote this.
Jake.
The origin of U-Bolt Blend Coffee began in 2016 with an idea to bring something unique to the International Fastener Expo in Vegas. And I think BTM achieved that, and they've got a new hit in the industry. Story goes on. You know where to read it, folks. Link Magazine.
Yeah, thanks for passing that on. I'll have to note that to Jake next time I see him, okay?
I'm sure he's managing a few media inquiries from that. Although you should know how that goes, Bri.
Yes.
In another publication that we pay attention to, American Fastener Journal just published its 2019 Source Guide. Now, this is the 35th volume of the AFJ Source Guide. A lot of people use this thing. It's indispensable for many people. The new edition is out, as usual, chock full of useful information. Got an email from Tom Mazer. He wanted to point out to everybody that since the Vegas show is a little early this year, it's the July and August issue of AFJ that'll be handed out in Vegas. So a lot of people try to time their media stuff, for the Vegas show. Just wanted to pass that along.
Well, we haven't actually seen Tom for a while. I guess he's had his head down doing all this. So we'll see him out in Las Vegas. But when are you going to get him on the podcast?
Well, I've been trying to. He's one of those shy guys. He doesn't want to come on, but believe me, the invitation's out there. Maybe this personal invitation will do the trick. Who knows?
Okay.
Well, he's done a lot with the AFJ, and we appreciate all his support over the years.
Yep.
And we thank you for listening in, your support, folks, and that of our sponsors. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stelfast and Brighton Best International. The Fastener News Report is brought to us today by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. And just a quick reminder, if you have anything to share with us, folks, that includes news tips. The email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com. We always love to hear what you have to say. We just mentioned the Vegas show, and we have a quick segment that we recorded with Emerald Exposition's show manager, Morgan Wilson, which we're going to play now. And then since Mike McNulty's not here today, we have a quick break to take. When we return, we'll have the FDI report with guest Rick Peterson. Then we'll get right into the headlines. Well, Bri, it is May already, hard to believe, and springtime in the fastener industry. All the shows are starting. You're coming in the very near future for the Distributor Social. Lots of things happening, but soon it will be September. You know what that means?
Yeah, I do. Las Vegas.
That's right. It used to be a little bit later in the year, but
yeah.
If it's in September, actually September 17th through the 19th, joining us now to give us all the details on what's going down this year at International Fastener Expo, it's Morgan Wilson. Hey, Morgan, thanks for jumping on with us again.
Hey, guys. Good to talk to you. Thanks for having me on.
It's all right.
You're our go-to man for this sort of thing, man.
Yeah, I try to be.
So what do you do? You lean the surfboard up against the house in Russian and pick the microphone up. Is that it?
Yeah, you guys did. You pulled me away from the beach for a little bit. So I got about 20 minutes for you.
Okay.
Right on. Well, International Fastener Expo is coming up in September, as previously mentioned, and most people know in this audience what that show is all about. We call it the Vegas show, but the formal name these days is International Fastener Expo. Please let us know what we should expect for this year's rendition.
Yeah, so obviously, as you mentioned, the biggest thing is moving it forward about 6 weeks. So yeah, 9/17, 9/19 is the new dates. We'll have the conference set up on the 17th, which is a Tuesday, and then the full expo days on Wednesday and Thursday. Slight change, we're moving down a hall. We'll be in halls D and E this year versus B and C last year.
What does that really mean?
It's really close. So if you were coming down the hotel from the hotel area last year, and we were on the right, you're going to keep walking down and go left at one of the main corridors there, and then we'll be on the right after that. So real close.
Okay. Is it like bigger or anything? I mean, does it make any difference?
I think the layout will be a little bit better because it's just a regular square. So we kind of had some odd aisles last year just due to the way the venue or the hall was. So everything's going to be kind of uniform, which I think should make for some good traffic flow.
Okay, good.
Next up, the welcome reception is going to be on Tuesday again, same time, 6 to 8 p.m. Open bar as usual. I think we'll have a DJ this year, which should be fun.
The show last year was pretty good, actually. But I'm waiting for you to continue, okay, to tell us what you've reorganized relative to the show.
We all know what that means, Bri.
You're turning the lights down a bit, are you?
Yes. We heard some reviews from that, and it was we heard that the lights were a little loud for light.
Yeah.
Can I go back on that one?
Yeah, now fortunately for me, I had a pair of Solution Industries special sunglasses, which Laura Vath gave to me, and my eyes were protected with superpowers. But for everybody else, man, I felt really bad occasionally because it wasn't like the beam was in your eyes the whole time, but occasionally they would flash down, and man, it was like, tanning booth strength light beams on you.
And the thing was, you couldn't, if you were sort of walking in a certain direction, you couldn't see anything around you. You're sort of feeling your way because the light was so bright. And then when you turned around with your back to the light, now you could see everything.
Yeah, I will agree. The lights were a little bright when you were kind of walking back to that main stage area. So, yeah, hopefully we'll have a good improvement on that. I think otherwise it's a good venue for us.
Oh, it's a great venue. Yeah, it is.
And how are cabana sales going?
Cabanas are up for sale. Anyone's interested, let us know. We have plenty of them.
What's the story on that for folks who don't know what we're talking about?
So yeah, we kind of had a bunch of cabanas to kind of offer a more private setting. So if you wanted to have a private meeting, you could reserve one of the cabanas. I think there was probably about 20 of them. So we offered a few of them to the Hall of Fame and YFP winners. So yeah, if anyone's interested, really, actually, we will have some available for that.
Do you have to be a certain age after you've chosen one of these private places? I mean, it's an interesting way. It is Las Vegas. I understand that.
Yeah, there's all kinds of directions you could go with that one, but we'll save that for the party. So that's going to be a blast. And once we move to the show floor, what are we going to see? How are booths lining up? And is the organization of the show floor pretty much the same in this new hall setup?
Yeah, it's relatively similar. Booth space is filling up pretty well at this point. We're already confirmed over 30 new companies, which is great.
Wow.
And one big change is we moved the Hall of Fame sessions area. It's going to be in the other hall outside of the general area. We just, the way the floor layout, we needed more space in the general area. So we have it kind of in the actual international source area right across, but it's right on the border. So it'll be real close. We have main aisles that'll direct you straight over there. That's one of the changes. And then we have a nice big lounge that'll be kind of in the back right of the floor plan, and we're planning to do some fun stuff there. I think we're going to be working with the YFP Association and probably doing a speed networking event again, and hopefully some other fun stuff.
You can get all the details on International Fastener Expo at the website fastenershows.com, everybody. And that includes registering. And if you're looking for a booth, there's a floor plan, which you better get on the ball, because take it from Brian and me.
Yeah.
If you don't, well, let's just say it this way. Get out there today, folks.
Sooner the better, okay? Get your booth.
Yes.
If it wasn't for Morgan, I don't know what we would have done this year, Bri.
Right, especially after I bitched and moaned about the lights at the opening show last year. I thought we weren't even going to get a booth.
See, that's the kind of guy he is. He'll take care of you.
Maybe we could just have you guys sponsor some sunglasses this year that have fully threaded radio on there.
You've told me that we don't need them, okay?
Exactly. What are we going?
You have promised that, okay?
Yeah. Oh, I've been told we're doing what we can, so I'm putting the faith into our team and to make sure we correct that issue. If not, bring your sunglasses.
Okay. I know.
Well, it's always good to be prepared. I don't know what we'll be prepared with this year at the booth, Brian. Needless to say, it'll be something special, and we won't go into the refrigerator magnet story yet again, but don't worry, folks. Our booth will be loaded for bear. Now, we had a few kind of off-topic booths last year, and that raised some eyebrows. What's the situation with that? In other words, are we going to be able to get fastener suppliers as well as like designer handbags and stuff, or what's the story with that situation?
Yeah, so last year was kind of more an interesting situation we don't typically run into. We had a lot of last-minute cancellations, which opened up several booths in main areas, and for some reason, we had a lot of interest from kind of outside companies that weren't directly related to the fastener industry. And, we made the exception to allow a few of those in, and we didn't have the best experience with that or feedback. So we have made the change this year to go back to kind of making it a strictly a fastener trade show. Obviously we have some different types of companies shipping related, not directly related to fastener, but it'll be
Sure.
all within the business. So yes, you don't have to worry about any cell phone people bugging you guys this year.
Yeah,
that's what we heard. Well, that's good news. I think a lot of people will be happy to hear that. Well, the International Fastener Expo is certainly the largest and most venerated fastener show in North America, and it's coming up again September 17th through the 19th. Most people in this audience do know about it. Let me ask you this, though, Morgan. If for some folks who still haven't gotten out there, or maybe they've taken a few years out, what's your elevator pitch? Why should they come back again this year and make Vegas a destination in their fastener calendar year?
Yeah, well, as you said, it's the largest show in North America, and we've grown the show about 25% on both the exhibitor and attendee side. So, yeah, it's certainly grown quite a bit, and we've tried to make several changes for the better. We're really trying to make the show a strong value on the technology side and information side. That way you can not only meet with customers and hopefully find new customers, but also learn a thing or two. So that's what our big focus is just making a great overall value for you guys. So anyone has feedback, feel free to shoot ideas my way.
Well, I have to commend you because Emerald has done a wonderful job of providing that feedback loop. And it's obvious to everybody that you take the advice of the industry and you put it back into what you're doing. So nobody can knock you for that. And you personally have done a good job of inserting yourself into the industry or at all the events. And that's what it takes to succeed in this business.
Yep, it's true.
Well, I appreciate it. And yeah, it's a great industry. And I always have fun getting out there and meeting new people and seeing old friends. So yeah, it's a great industry we have.
Right on. Well, plus you're now the industry surfer poster boy, so let's face it, And so one last time, folks, it's fastenershows.com. And before we let you surf on out of here, you're also a fisherman, Morgan. And how's your season started out? Brian and I were commiserating about ours earlier.
Yeah, well, it's actually it started out pretty well. I only got out one time, but I keep a close eye on those reports out of San Diego. which is just about an hour down south from me. And those yellowtail just started popping up, and I jumped on a full day boat and got my Mexican limits, which is 5 yellowtail and good 12 to 18 pound range. So provided some good sushi and ceviche and tacos for us a couple weeks ago.
Wow, that sounds great. I am envious
terrific.
for sure. A Mexican limit, though, I never heard of that term before. Does that, in other words, you're saying you went south from San Diego and that's where you caught your fish? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah. So we go out of San Diego, and just about 20 miles south is the Mexican border. So they have a different limit than we do in the U.S. So it's actually, you can get up to 10 in the U.S., but it's 5 max in Mexican waters.
Oh, okay. Well, that's my fact for the day I've learned. I thought you were leading us into a new take on some colloquialism like a baker's dozen. And
yeah. I didn't know if we were going to have to edit this part out, in today's culture, Mexican limit. I mean, what the hell? But no, you're a straight shooter, and we should have known. So, well, congratulations on that great day in the water. One of these years, man, we'll get out there together somewhere, huh?
Yeah, we got to get you down here. The big bluefin are actually coming around again, so that'd be a trip for you.
Count us in, and count us in for this year's International Fastener Expo. We'll see you out there, everybody. And Morgan Wilson, Emerald Expositions, we'll talk to you there and probably before.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys, for having me on. I appreciate it.
There's a reason Volt Industrial Plastics is an industry leader in plastic clip, clamp, and custom fastener manufacturing. With over 100 million parts in stock that can be shipped the same day, Volt has some of the fastest lead times in the industry. Volt can do color. We have the capability of molding over 120 different materials and can color match for specific applications. You need it? We can build it. At Volt, we have state-of-the-art technology to build prototypes to customer specs. And although some companies provide similar products, we offer customer service that's second to none, setting us apart from our competition. And now available, Volt's new light-duty cable clamps. With maximum diameters ranging from 3/16 to a ½ inch, these clamps are ideal for hard-to-reach spaces, electronics, and finish work. They prevent corrosion with metal tubing, and with plastic tubing, they won't bind or warp, preventing leaks while maintaining the flow of liquids. Volt Industrial Plastics, the finest, fastest plastic fasteners in the world. Visit us at voltplastics.com.
BTM Manufacturing is a domestic ISO 9001 manufacturer of threaded fasteners and bent wire products. From anchor bolts to studs to U-bolts, BTM is committed to making your per print special with the highest quality standards while meeting your on-time delivery schedule. Since BTM began in 1961, this family-owned business has remained focused on providing exceptional service to their customers. Centrally located in Kansas City, Missouri, BTM recently expanded into a 100,000 square foot facility, which allows for the production and manufacture of many projects simultaneously, both large and small quantity. BTM's website at btm-mfg.com allows you to submit custom quotes quickly and easily, and once you do, a BTM team member will contact you as soon as possible to discuss your needs. Are you ready to get started? BTM is. Visit www.btm-mfg.com today.
Back to the Fastener News Report with Mike McNulty.
The seasonally adjusted Fastener Distributor Index for April came in at 55.8, accelerating versus a stable March reading. Sales trends were also better, and the seasonally adjusted sales index reversed the pattern of deceleration seen over the last 2 months. The FDI is a monthly survey of North American fastener distributors conducted by the FCH Sourcing Network and Baird. It offers insights into current fastener industry trends and outlooks. Joining us to take a look at this month's reading, it's Rick Peterson of All-West Components and Fasteners out in Auburn, Washington. Hey, Rick, thanks for taking a minute.
Hi, Eric. Thank you.
I ran into you at the recent PAC West NFDA MWFA meeting, and you are also very aware of what goes on with associations. You are the past president of the PAC West, and also, as it turns out, staffed us. So it's great to have you with us.
Well, thank you very much.
As mentioned, the April FDI came in at 55.8. That was a rebound from the recent trend. How did that measure up compared to what you're seeing in your business?
Well, of course, I look at the FDI every month when it comes out, and I'm always surprised and a little bit amused at how closely it tracks our individual performance here in the Seattle area.
Well, that's good to hear, and this month was no exception, I take it. What did you experience during April?
Pretty much the same numbers. Straight off the black and white page. Obviously there's some seasonality. Every company has some seasonality that's different from the broad industry, and so our January and February was a little weaker than we expected, so that deviated. But if you look at the trend over a 6-month average, for example, I think that we're pretty much almost spot on compared to the broad industry.
Now, speaking directly to that sales trend, did you see that as well? I mean, I think that was kind of the big surprise in last month's number.
Yes, absolutely. April was just a great month for us, and in fact, we squeaked up a little bit higher than the FDI shows for the industry. But once in a while, of course, you get a windfall, and you take advantage of that. So that skews the numbers a little bit. But if you squint hard at it and look at over a period of 5 or 6 months and average it out, we're tracking pretty much with the FDI.
And that sales reading came in well into expansionary territory at 61.3, everybody. If you have the report, you've seen that already. If you don't, you should get it. The website, of course, is fdisurvey.com, and if you're a member of any of the associations, I think at this point, most of them are publishing it shortly after we release it, Rick.
Yeah, I think that everybody really should take the time to sit down and really go over this thing. It's very clearly laid out, statistically well explained in the text, and I just think it's just a very valuable tool that everybody should use.
A newer piece of the FDI is what we call the forward-looking indicator, and that also swung pretty far up this time around. What do you read into that?
Well, part of it is that small business people are optimists, otherwise they wouldn't be in business, but it's going to be interesting to see how that comes out in the end, but I don't disagree with the other respondents.
Okay, and that number surged up to 52.1 versus a slumping 46.9 back in March, so it was really a turnaround. Now, contrasting that, Rick, we had a little bit of a head-scratcher with some of the commentary that came in. There weren't a tremendous number of comments, but it was overall cautious. One survey participant noted April was still strong, but calls are definitely dropping off. Another said it was a very soft April. I hope this isn't the beginning of a slowdown.
Yeah, I read that. That was an interesting comment, and who knows what region it came from or whatever, but I think that people do really react to last month and the month before, and I think that might have been part of those comments. Maybe somebody's smartened a little bit because they took a bit of a dip that they didn't expect. But I bet if you got the same comment from that guy or woman a couple months from now, they'd probably have something different to say.
No doubt. Now, I know that you're a little bit of an economy wonk and you pay close attention, so we also compare the FDI to the Purchase Managers Index, the well-known index, and for this month it looks like the PMI dipped a little bit, although it too is still in expansionary territory. Do you have any thoughts about that? What's your take?
Well, I think that it might be a two-pronged thing. It might be that there was a lot of talk about people bulking up their inventories for various reasons, including a small chance of tariffs kicking in, which of course they now have. And then I believe there's also some impact from some very bad weather this country had during the winter. So if you bulk up your inventory and then you have some bad transportation problems and so on, I think that's probably a combination there that's causing those comments.
Okay, interesting. And I know you have some pretty good sources on your thinking on that, being a past president of STAFTA too. So thanks for your insight on that. We talked before we turned the recorder on a little bit about what you've been up to lately. And one of the things on your to-do list is to formulate a reaction for All-West Components to the recent tariff headlines. What do you have going, Rick? What do you make of all of these recent headlines?
Instead of reaction, let's call it a genius strategy or something like that.
I like that.
So we're still trying to figure out exactly how to deal with the tariffs. They're not going to impact my company too severely because we bring in very little directly from China. And we do a lot of business with domestic manufacturers. Of course, they're going to be hit with wire tariffs, so there'll be some trickle through on that. But so far, we've been getting letters from certain suppliers that are very important to us. Only one of those suppliers, who I can't name, has chosen to go through their entire build list and actually make price increases item by item based upon the content that they get from China. Most of the other manufacturers we buy from are just doing a quick calculation or a big calculation and doing just a 10% price increase or a 7% price increase to reflect the Chinese content of their product. For a distributor, unless you sell giant quantities or giant volume of a particular item or a group of items that you're importing directly from China or getting through an importer or a trading company, I can't imagine a typical small distributor with 50 or 60,000 SKUs trying to track it item by item. We're going to have to negotiate with our customers and just do a blanket price increase until the tariffs go away or don't go away.
Sure, makes sense. Now, we're recording this in the middle of May, and the news just came out a couple days back. Have you actually seen material evidence of any of the price increases, or is it still just talk?
No, it's not talk. We received one letter on the 13th saying that everything that ships on the 12th is 10% higher. So I'll go figure that timing out. But no, it's kicking in. It's already kicked in, and of course they're not calling it a tariff pass-through because there's no way for a million SKUs to be able to do that. So they're just calling it a price increase, and I understand that, and it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, and I say it's kind of reminiscent of the old countervailing duties conversation we had, that were retroactive.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Yeah, funny how that works. Okay, Rick, well, thanks for your comments on the FDI and the tariffs. And before we let you run, as mentioned, being the past president of a couple of associations, do you have any events to promote that are coming up in the near future?
Well, PacWest is just a great association that I belong to, and the Pacific West Fastener Association. And they're doing a lot of regional events. They're calling it PacWest After Hours. They had one in San Diego, they had one in Seattle, Portland, here and there, down in the Bay Area, Union City. And this is just a great way, if you're in those regions, to participate in this evening event. It's usually at a pub or a brew house or something. It's a great way to be able to rub elbows with your competitors and your suppliers in the region. And they've been very accommodating for people that are not even members that want to just come and check out the association. And I would highly recommend that anybody contact PacWest if they're not a member and see how they can get involved in one of these after-hours events. And of course, STAFTA is also just a great organization. They're a little bit more attuned to industrial supply houses or tool suppliers and so on, construction supply support. But they're just also a great association for educational benefits in their annual trade show. But I guess that brings me to a thought, which is that if anybody out there that's listening to this does not belong to a trade association, please join your local association. If it's a fastener association or if you're a tool house, join somebody else. The benefits just so far outweigh the meager dues that they charge just from the educational benefits themselves and being able to get to know your competitors so they don't continue to be your enemies. They can actually be friendly competitors, respectful competitors, and they don't have horns coming out of their heads. They're just people like you and me. So I really very strongly believe in joining your trade association. So that's my thought on that.
Rick Peterson of All-West Components is squarely on the advocacy side of that question of whether or not to join associations. We got you, Rick.
Okay.
Well, and I agree, totally. And it's wonderful to see in this industry how competitors do coexist at a lot of these functions. And I've seen people resist them for that reason, and then they're always pleasantly surprised. So you're dead on with your comments.
Thank you.
Once again, everyone, the Fastener Distributor Index for April was 55.8, reversing a downward trend from the past couple of months. Get out to www.fdisurvey.com. If you do, you'll be able to participate in the monthly questionnaire. Only takes a moment, and you'll be one of the first to receive the monthly report. Thank you so much, Rick Peterson, for joining us to report on this month's Fastener Distributor Index.
Thank you, Eric.
Well, the top headline in the fastener industry, I think everybody agrees, is the tariffs. Trade tensions ratcheted up earlier in the month when Washington announced tariffs on $200 billion worth of imported Chinese goods would rise from 10% to 25% as of May 10th. Fallout from the announcement in the fastener industry began soon after it was made in the form of letters from suppliers announcing price hikes to reflect the higher cost of doing business on certain goods. We heard comments on the tariff situation earlier in the podcast, and additional thoughts are forthcoming during our feature segment and on future episodes of Fully Threaded Radio.
Especially when Mike McNulty comes back.
Yes, we miss him. This is harder than it looks, Bri.
I know.
Our second headline today comes to us from the NFDA May newsletter. NFDA President Kelly Cole writes in his message this time about our good friend Dan Zender of Trinity Logistics. He says, "We have a change in leadership on the NFDA Board of Directors. The parent company of Trinity Supply Logistics has asked Dan Zender to take on a bigger role that will require his relocation to Spain for part of the year. Realizing this would not be fair to the NFDA, Dan reluctantly resigned from the NFDA board." So that was kind of shocking news. That broke actually a little while back.
Wow. Well, there's worse places in the world to live than Spain, I have to say.
Well, he'll be commuting, but he'll be spending more time in Europe. The new owners of Trinity are doing some major expansions, I've heard, and Dan is right in the thick of it, still in the action. But I don't know, I get the feeling a little bit like, remember in the movie Goodfellas when Robert De Niro's character realized that the Joe Pesci character had been whacked and they lost their guy, you know? That's how I kind of felt a little bit. I'm like, no, you know, standing in the phone booth.
Yeah, I know.
Because basically the way that it works is in June, Dan was going to be the next NFDA president. So it's always good to have your buddies in there. Not that they're not all our buddies, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, we've known Dan for a long time. So anyway, well, we wish him well. He'll have fun. Spain's a great place to live. I was sent there for a while once.
Yeah, along with like every other country on the planet. And from the May Fastener News Report flipbook version, which everyone should be subscribed to, I see here that Fastenal announced a 2-for-1 stock split. Story says the Fastenal Board of Directors approved a 2-for-1 stock split of the company's outstanding common stock. Holders of the company's common stock of record as of the close of business on May 2nd, 2019. Split takes effect May 22nd, 2019.
Oh, okay.
Another headline out of the same Fastener News Report is one you'll like, Brian. Bassard boosts expertise in 3D printing. The Bassard Group continues to expand its expertise in additive manufacturing with a 30% share of EcoParts AG out of Hinwil, Switzerland. EcoParts has many years of experience in 3D printing services for the metal segment of this innovative technology. So you're frequently pointing out to various people that 3D printing, additive manufacturing is a thing in metals. People don't believe you, but the evidence is all around us.
Yeah, as recently as last week in Cleveland at the NCFA Social, actually.
Just got a call from Frank DeVito earlier today, Bri. Frank from Solution Industries, and he's lining up another tour for us over there at America Makes out in Youngstown.
Yeah.
That's a think tank that's doing amazing things with additive manufacturing. So we'll be heading out there with some of the folks from Solution. Looking forward to seeing what they've done since last time.
Yeah, we've lived on that knowledge that we learnt there. That was the girls from Hudson actually took us there and arranged for that years ago now. It was a very, very educational visit and an eye-opener.
Now we're going back.
Cool.
We have 2 Fastener News headlines that come out of the world of sports, Bri. The first one involves the Pac West Mel Kirshner Memorial Golf Outing. We've supported that since its inception. This year's event took place May 10th, 2019 at Westridge Golf Club in La Habra, California. It was a fundraiser for the Terry Campus of Life, whose mission is to change the way the world views and helps children with special needs. Now, the winners, we had some outliers this year, which is good because I think people were getting a little bit tired of InSequel or the Pacific Warehouse Girls.
Or the Truckies. Right.
This year's first place team was comprised of Aaron Dollenmeyer and John Shields of Longlock Fasteners, along with Brett Brown of WireTech and Mike Wireshare of Parker Fasteners.
Wow, this is a bit of an upset.
That's right. And good to see some of our sponsors in the winner's circle, too. Parker Fasteners, of course, friend of FTR.
Our sponsors are always in the winner's circle, okay?
That's true. Second place honors went to Skip English of Allspec Fasteners, along with Dave Kajenik and Mark Jajola of Vertex Distribution. Jim Moyer of Pencom filled out that team.
Okay.
They had a very good list of sponsors and contest sponsors this year, as they always do, including Fully Threaded. And you're probably all on the edge of your seat wondering who won the now famous Fully Threaded Radio prize. This year, it was Michael Hassler of Fastener Dimensions, walked away with the 30-pack of Busch Light beer.
I really hope he likes Busch Light, okay?
Funny thing is, I don't think he even drinks. But I'm sure the guys at the office were happy.
Or his neighbor. Yeah.
Apparently they had a little bit of rain this year for the event, which is unusual because, as we all know, they pretty much have the best weather on the planet there. But I guess it wasn't that bad, and everybody enjoyed the day immensely.
And it's for a good cause, too.
So worth getting wet for. And finally, our second sports-related headline in our final piece of news on the Fastener News Report. Actually, this happened some time ago, Bri, but I was reprimanded at the recent NCFA event for not mentioning it. In a tweet from April 10th, it was announced that Tabitha Herbst from Central Wire Industries beat the otherwise all-male field and won the annual March Madness Bracket Challenge that was run by the Traveling Salesman. She picked Virginia and had the highest overall score. Hats off to Tabitha.
Okay. This sounds very Fastener related, okay?
Yeah, well, you know how it goes around here. Hopefully we're out of the doghouse now. And hopefully all of you folks feel a little bit more informed about the industry that you all know and love.
Well, if nothing else, they have much better appreciation for why we really need Mike McNulty.
That's true. That's true. And we're not going to even attempt a back page report. We're going to say with that, we've got a great feature segment coming up in mere moments, folks. Thanks for listening. It's Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, your online Fastener Talk Radio brothers in thread. Fully Threaded Radio.
At Brighton Best, we continue to expand our wide range of products, including stainless steel and metric fasteners. Our family of brands include Preferred, U.S. Anchor, and Ironclad Performance Wear. BBI has been a trusted partner since 1925. With award-winning hand tools, gloves, and drywall screws, BBI is the largest master distributor of fasteners in the USA. Tested, tried, and true. We are Brighton Best. To learn more about Brighton Best, visit brightonbest.com.
Parker Fasteners is your premier cold heading manufacturer, forging the future with precision and quality as our top priority. When you think of domestically produced sockets and tamper-proof screws from alloy and stainless, including A286, think Parker Fasteners. Our lockout line of security fasteners feature high-torque, oval center pin design and unique lobes that provide one-of-a-kind security for your customers. Our in-house 3D printing capability makes the prototyping process fast and affordable, and we're ready to produce your large or small run orders with highly competitive pricing and unbeatable lead times. So, forge the future with Parker Fasteners. Visit Parker Fasteners online today at parkerfasteners.com.
Hey mates, Brian Muscat. Regardless of the required size, material or finish, Eurolink has the European resources to meet your demands for hard-to-find metric fasteners. We're the one-stop source for all of your metric needs, saving you time and money searching for these parts while fulfilling all of your requirements. How do we do it? Eurolink offers access to more than 100,000 quality C-class parts with the ability to solve your toughest metric fastener supply issues every time. Hard-to-find metric fasteners? Delivered. Just think of us as your heavy metal rock stars. To learn more about how we can rock your world or request a hassle-free quote online, visit eurolinkfss.com. That's eurolinkfss.com.
This is Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute, coming to you from the Fastener Training Institute and AIM Testing Laboratory in beautiful El Cajon, California. I received an interesting question from one of our FTI students, and it had to do with a very important word. At least it used to be very important back in the 90s. That word was commingling. When I come back, I'm going to tell you why commingling is an important concept that we need to be aware of in the fastener industry.
Thank you, Carmen. This is Joe Morris with the Fastener Training Institute. Summer may be approaching, but do not take time off investing in yourself or in your employees. This is a great time for fastener training. On May 14th in Los Angeles, California, we are hosting fastener manufacturing plant tours. During the day, we will tour R&D Fasteners, Briscoe, and Mr. Washerman. Although this is a required class for obtaining your Certified Fastener Specialist certification, anybody may join us. The class will give you valuable insight on fastener manufacturing. Then on May 17th, John Metcalf from Peak Innovations Engineering will instruct our May webinar titled, My Major Customer Has a Quality Issue, Now What? In this webinar, we will cover quality issues and how to strengthen customer relationships through challenging situations. And I hope you are all planning to attend Fastener Fair on May 21st. Lawrence Klaus will present Fastening 101, Understanding Threaded Fasteners with an emphasis on the automotive market. This one-day class is a must for anyone in the fastener industry, users, purchasers, engineers, and quality personnel. This class will explore fastener engineering basics, automotive fasteners, and trends in the automotive industry and their impact on fasteners. To register, please visit the Fastener Fair website at fastenerfair.com. Then don't unpack your bags, because I hope that I see you all at Fastener Tech in Chicago. On June 3rd, we will present Why Fasteners Fail. This workshop is designed for anyone new or well-established in the fastener industry that desires to learn more about what causes threaded fasteners to fail. Please visit the Midwest Fastener Association website to register at mwfa.net. Lastly, the Fastener Training Institute is proud to partner with Worth Industries of North America as our 2019 sustaining sponsor. This new level of sponsorship will help FTI both fund existing programs and develop new content. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors. We cannot survive without you. For more information about all of our classes, please visit our website at www.fastenertraining.org. Now, back to Carmen for our Fastener Training Minute.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute, continuing on a word called commingling. Got a question from a Fastener Training Institute student, and it read like this. I cannot find in the 1999 FQA anything about commingling of product. Is it okay to mix some items, different lots, manufacturers at shipping time? I know it is best not to do so, but is there anything in writing that says it's not allowed? Well, it was very interesting to get that question because it used to be of great concern back in the 1990s when that thing called the FQA, and if you've been around a while, you know that that means Fastener Quality Act, raised its ugly head for us in the fastener industry. And one of the big issues with the Fastener Quality Act was we could not commingle product. I'm not going to talk deeply about the Fastener Quality Act, but basically the government decided it needed to regulate the fastener industry. And one of the constraints that was going to be placed was we could not commingle different lots of product, either for shipping or packaging or plating or other secondary processes. So this is how I answered that person's question. I said, when the FQA was first conceived, it had a lot of requirements that did not make it to the final cut. No or limited commingling was one of those requirements. I believe the Act allowed us to maybe initially commingle 2 separate lots. In the final version of the law, a distributor or supplier can do any kind of commingling they want because there are no legal requirements for distributors under the Fastener Quality Act, only for manufacturers and importers. Now, having said that, I will also say it's not a good idea to mix lots of the same size and type of fastener for plating or any other secondary processing. If you do it, you should take steps to be sure the product is in conformance before you do the secondary processing, whatever it may be, whether it's plating, packaging, kitting, patch, pellet drilling, whatever. Also, this is the most important note to keep in mind. Virtually all, but not all, but virtually all fasteners are manufactured in ISO-registered facilities these days. Those fasteners are not even subject to the Fastener Quality Act. So if you're a supplier, there are no restrictions on commingling product for any purpose under the Fastener Quality Act, but you shouldn't do it. If you do it, make sure you take steps to ensure that the lots have good integrity and they're in conformance prior. In case there is a problem, you won't have to end up scrapping more material than is necessary. Well, that's about what you need to know about commingling, and I hope you can put it to good use. This has been Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute. Thanks for listening.
Hi, this is Dave, the voice of Buckeye Fasteners and Old Rusty Gold Beer, the preferred beer of the traveling salesman. And you are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you. Well, Brian, this time we're going to talk to a guy who, in every sense of the word, quite literally, is a man of fastener action. And that's because his company is Spokane, Washington-based Action Fasteners. Action, Tim Jackson, welcome to Fully Threaded.
Hi, guys. How are you?
We're doing good, thanks.
And it's Spokane, or you sound crazy.
Spokane. Oh, Spokane. All right.
Yeah, spoken like a true Midwesterner. My apologies.
Roger that. You're forgiven. And their nickname was Action Jackson, not Action Tim Jackson. That sounds crazy.
Yeah, well, I had to do it just for flow, so permit me the artistic license, but you'll have to let us get into that in a second. Tim, please give us a bio of Action Fasteners in Spokane, Washington.
Action Fasteners, 25-year-old business. I recently sold the business to one of my largest customers in October. I started in 1994, I believe it was. I actually started in my garage with 2 pieces of plywood and 4 sawhorses. And decided one day, went home to my wife. I said, honey, I quit my job. I'm going to start my own business. She looked at me with 3 little kids and said, are you out of your freaking mind?
Yeah.
I said, well, sort of, but I think I can do this.
Well, you told her there's a future in sawhorses. Is that what it was?
I didn't have those by then. All I had, actually, the day I told her I was starting the business, I literally had a phone jack in my bedroom, and I had an old fax machine because we didn't have extra phones in. So I plugged it into the jack, and the fax would only work one way, and I used it as my phone. And I had the company turn it over to a different number, and there I was off. And first day I sold about $4,000 worth of screws to a supplier over in Seattle, and it was Intercorp that gave me my first break, and I begged them to sell me. They had never heard of me. I begged them to sell me 4 pallets of drywall screws. And I begged them, and I said, I will pay you tomorrow as soon as I get the check. And so they shipped them. Law sent them to me, sent them to my customer. I drove over to Seattle, got the check, came back, put it in the bank, sent him a check, and I was off and running.
Doesn't always happen quite that well, okay?
Yeah, I sometimes wonder how the heck I did it, but I just made it work. And like you mentioned, Action Jackson, it wasn't because I was good with the women back then. It was just because everybody else, in sales, everybody would talk about it, but nobody would follow through. And I was that guy that if I had to go in at 2 a.m. to get something and drive it 4 hours to my customer, I did it. And everybody started nicknaming me Action Jackson. And I'm like, I hated it. I mean, hated it.
Right.
I'd go through these shows and hey, Action Jackson. I'm like, dude, my name's Tim. Come on. So then when I started my business, I was like, hey, why not go with Action Jackson? At least everybody knows me. So it went Action Supplies or Action Fasteners.
Oh, I was wondering if there was going to be a connection. I was probably sure there was, but people who are a little bit older, I don't know exactly what age you'd need to be, but back in the days when G.I. Joe was a little boy's toy, they also had the competing action figure doll called Action Jackson. I remember Saturday mornings, the commercials.
That's horrible. You're terrible, Eric. Yes, you had the little action doll in school, and it was Action Jackson doll. And I had one, of course.
Yeah, Eric would remember that stuff. Eric remembers the songs they played in the commercials.
Yeah, roger that. So, actually, my first little shop was just about a 10 by 12 shop, little office, and I bought from Bell Fasteners. I had a huge supplier over in Seattle, McClendon Hardware, and they were buying they ran about 10 line items from me. And when I started my own business, I begged them to give me all their stainless. So they said, yes, it's yours. So I literally would drive from Spokane to Seattle, go to all 5 stores, write the orders. It would take me 3 days, full days. Back then we had just yellow tablets of paper. That was our laptop. I would handwrite them, come back to Seattle or Spokane, fax them over to Bell Fasteners. They would pull the order, ship it to me. I remember the first order that showed up was a pallet, and I was in a little sub-neighborhood, right, subdivision, and this truck showed up. Hell, I never thought about how I was going to get the pallet off. There was a 4,000-pound pallet, and the guy looked at me, and I'm like, he goes, what are we doing? I said, I don't know. He said, you got a forklift? No. Hell, I didn't even have a cart. I didn't have a pallet jack. So I stacked all 50 boxes on the ground and carried them all in the garage, and then I had my kids out there packing. And better yet, I didn't have boxes to put them in. I'm like, shoot, I forgot about the boxes. So that day I had to figure out how to get boxes here. Next day there were some boxes. And then I went to Able Label. You remember Dick Shanks, who owned Able Label? He was one of my mentors. He gave me labels. He said, use these. And I hand wrote all the labels for about 3 months. And then I would package it up. The first order I packaged for a solid week, every day for about 12 hours, 13 hours. That Friday, I rented a Nissan Pathfinder. I'll never forget it, because all I had was a Buick Park Avenue. I get the Nissan Pathfinder, and I packed that thing, Eric. I'm telling you, if I'd hit the big bump, all the tires would have blew out. I had 4,000 pounds packed in that Nissan. I couldn't even see out my passenger side. It was just boxes. And I just drove. And I drove 6 hours to McClendon, dropped it off the docks. I said to my buddy, Rob McClendon, I said, Bubba, I need a check, man. He said, what do you mean? He said, here. And he signed the packing slip, which I hand wrote on the Excel sheet, and I took it up to the office. They wrote me a check. I drove straight back. I slept for 2 days. I got back I showed up at 8 or 9 in the morning, 10. I got back at 4 or 5, and I slept till like Sunday. Got up, went over to Seattle, and did it again. And that's how I started my business.
Wow, that's a great story. I mean, yeah.
Here. Yeah, I love these humble beginning stories. And of course, last time I saw you in person, it was at a Pac West event, and you were sort of, I guess, let's just put it this way, you were basking in the afterglow, the immediate afterglow of transacting the acquisition of your company. Of course, you're still working with Action Fasteners, and we can talk about that later. But the point is that you had a very good climax to this story. So jumping ahead. But that was one of the reasons that I wanted to have you with us on the podcast. I mean, you've been listening to the show, I know, and which we appreciate, but you're a guy who's got so many stories, so many connections. And I think a lot of guys can identify with your story.
It's also very encouraging when it must be discouraging when you go through that effort to start up a company. And there's a lot of work goes into starting up a little company. And then you listen to our ex-president point out to everyone in public that anyone who's made up a company didn't really do it by themselves because they did it all on government support.
Oh, careful, Bri.
Oh, please, please.
I was so annoyed. I was so annoyed when I heard that. It infuriated me.
Well, you had it reversed. It's not the support we got; it's the support we gave them by paying more taxes than everyone else. Right?
Yeah, but that didn't sit well with people, the hangers-on. Okay.
Well, as long as we're going to tread troubled waters, Bri, why don't we deviate in today's top headline, which is, I guess, a somewhat related subject, and that is meddling in the markets in the way of tariffs. So I know you have some opinions on that. Tim, we're speaking just a few days after the announcement that the tariffs have gone up to 25% as threatened some time ago from 10%. What do you make of it?
To be truthful, they haven't bothered us. I know everybody's going to jump up and down and say, hey, tariffs, oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end. I'm 25 years into this, and every time there's a shakeup in the market, whether it's the price of steel or you can't get anything from China or Japan's out of the market, it really doesn't affect us in the small markets unless my competition drops the ball and they start giving away all the margin. For me, so let's say I have $1 million worth of stock, and suddenly you tell me there's a 25% increase in price. I just made $250,000. So, I mean, we're kind of smiling, but we're not. As long as everybody's on the same playing field and Brighton and Star and BBI all pass on the same margin to everybody, tariffs, whatever it is, I think guys like us, you just need to protect your margin. I see a lot of guys out there in the industry that will, wow, we got a 25% increase. We'll only raise our cost 10%. I'm like, it was raised 25. You have to match the market. If everybody matches the market, we all go smoothly. If you get guys out there trying to reinvent the wheel, then, one guy's paying $10, one guy's paying $15, the end customer, and they're like, hey, why is there a difference? We're like, well, I don't know. Somebody's not following suit here. It really hasn't bothered us. I mean, I know people don't want to hear that, but I'm passing it on to my customers, and they understand. I mean, I've had no customers say, we're not going to buy from you because of the tariff. They complained. We all complained. But in essence, I'm still selling. We're having a banner year. Nothing's really slowed down. It's not comfortable. I mean, everybody's on edge, but really nothing's changed.
Well, that's a kind of an interesting perspective, Tim. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised to hear that. It's not really a matter of speculation, though, because we've been living with the 10% for some time now. And so are you saying, or should we infer from that comment just now, that the first round, you really saw everybody just reacting sort of in concert, and you expect this additional 15% to result in the same thing?
I don't think things are going to change. I think you're going to have to use what tools you have, which is capital. If you can buy better, buy more. Somehow you've got to keep your costs down. But again, if everybody's going up 15% more, and I mean everybody from the top, the blue company, Fastenal, to the small company, Action Fasteners, if everybody's getting the same number, then it's the same playing field. What's the difference between 10, 12 years ago when stainless went through the roof? It didn't change anything. No companies went out of business because the fasteners, which are less than 10% of their overall cost, went out of business. They might buy better, buy smarter, try to figure out better ways to do their business. I don't see a change coming.
Okay, so you're on record for having some comments about margin shrinkage. It's obviously not tariff-induced. Where's it coming from?
Fear. I'm a firm believer that in our business, I've seen it over the last 25 years, where the one thing we did right was we always protected our margin. And then every salesman I get, he says, I got to meet Billy Bob's price, $5. We're at $6.50. No. You're misunderstanding it. You've got to sell them on the $6.50 and not worry about the $5. Everybody's losing the fact we're in this to make a margin. But first thing they do is they want to lower the price and get a raise. And I tell everybody, listen, one thing I did when I started the business was open books management. In other words, you can see every part of our business and how it affects the bottom line. And how, if you want to make more money, you have to sell more at more margin. It's not sell more at less margin, make more money. It doesn't work. 2 and 2 is not 6.
Except if you're the government.
That's a different story. Now there, 2 and 2 is 8. Right? And we're okay with that because we can't do anything about it.
Right. We're used to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll pay you later.
Yep. I don't do any government business. Never done it.
So your idea of open books is really to try and give your employees, then it's a chance to understand how an ordinary business runs, because the idea that, we've got to keep our margin because the reason you get paid is because somehow the company makes money.
Yeah, so for me, before I did my own business, I worked about 5 or 6 years in the industry. And I would go out and sell, and I expect more money. And they'd always tell me, well, we had hidden cost. This happened, that happened. And I'm like, well, I sold more at 60 and 65% margin. Why shouldn't I get more? So when I started my own business, I simply wanted everybody to understand how business really works. You buy low, sell high, keep your overhead down. What's left is called net margin. That's what we get to spend. And I've always shared profit margins with people, employees. And if they understand why they do what we do, I have guys here that work here that can make business decisions on the fly. Every salesman can buy their own product if they need to. They don't have to call me and get permission. They know where I stand. Listen, you sell under a certain margin, you will be getting a phone call or a text, guaranteed. Now, if you go out there and tell me I had to sell something lower than the market because of this, and it made business sense, I'm all for it.
Well, you've been operating in the age of the supplier consolidation, so a lot of the master distributors have gone away or consolidated. And how has that contributed to the overall margin picture in your experience?
I think the only one I can really talk about is locally is Fastenal came in and bought Fasteners Inc., which is a 14-branch company, and it was terrifying. I'm like, oh my gosh, they have so much buying power. And the first thing I always heard of, we don't have any cost of getting it from overseas to the customer. And I went, so your trucks don't use gas or diesel? You don't have to check it in, you don't have to ship it, you don't have to store it, so it's all free? And I realized it's not all free. They're just keeping an extra 10 or 15% for themselves. Luckily enough, I wouldn't say they lower the market. They try to, but I find that they always creep back up. So I've been able to combat that by keeping steady margins.
And a different level of service, probably.
Yeah, services, I was telling someone the other day, it's like, they can get it cheaper. They can't get it cheaper than we do for them. I said one day, when you want a refrigerator, where do you go buy it? He says, well, Sears or Fred's Appliances down here, which are reputable companies. I said, so are they buying price or are they buying a good company? And I said, why don't you go down and buy from Goodwill? It's cheaper. Well, they won't support it. I said, oh, so you're telling me service does matter. And it does matter that we'll stand behind it and we get it to them and they know they're getting a good product. And, when people say people buy on price, that's not true. Not true. If that's the case, you'd go buy a cup of coffee at the cheapest place in town. I can get coffee over for 50 cents versus $1.10 over here. We buy where we're comfortable with. People buy from people. It's been that way and it will always be that way.
Well, how are you making do then in a world that's going increasingly online? I mean, a lot of suppliers in this industry are going that way.
Now that's someplace I've never been, but we just bought the package from NCFA, and we're probably going to roll something out in July. NCFA has a portal. We see it as our customers are going to be able to go online on our software and dial in and look at their products and buy online if they want. And we're also going to be looking at a mobile app. But I think we're going to have to maintain our margin no matter what. It's Amazon's building in town here. So can they beat us? Can they deliver it the same day? I don't think so. So we bought 2 vans. We got 2 vans out running all day now instead of 1. And we're going to combat their service with our service. And when you buy online, you're not talking to anybody. I make sure my guys call people and get that voice-to-voice or handshake or know that we're here. We're real people living in Spokane, not wherever Amazon's at.
Action Jackson combating the Amazon effect with 2 vans. If anyone could do it, you can, man.
We're going to give it our best shot.
Well, I tell you, it is a response, but I don't know if it's necessarily what I was wondering because we've mixed the topic a little bit. We were talking about suppliers and with companies going online and competing, I guess, on price, and we're contrasting that with competing on service, which is an advantage that fastener distributors are always going to have. I think, all agree, and most of our audience probably does. Nevertheless, the people who are supplying us are asking us to go online and be faced with really uniform pricing. So that's, I guess, just adding to the current landscape.
It's scary. I think if there's anything that keeps me up at night is how are we going to compete on the market online? I think online is just going to be local. We're regional. We're Portland, Seattle, and Spokane, pretty much. That's our business. I'm not looking to get business out of New York, Oklahoma, Texas. It just doesn't make sense to me. I think the big guys are going to eat our lunch when we start doing that. I think we just got to have a online service that keeps the same customers happy and saves them money and time just like it does for us.
Right. There's got to be some reason. But, the interesting thing is that, we were at an event over at BBI and George Hunt III was talking about, giving us a summary of BBI, saying that some 80-something plus % of all their sales are done through the web, okay? That's a lot of a percentage for a big company like BBI.
They do it right.
And George's reasoning, which, sitting back, think about it, is that, that amount of sales, there's a reason why they want people to use the web, because they don't have to, they can make it so that the customers are known to them because they've got to log in somehow or other, okay? And so they can offer their special pricing to different customers, and all that pricing can be better than if they sat around and called up a local sales guy to make the order. So there are, to BBI, it's interesting to follow that logic, because I think you'll find Fastener is a little bit in the same boat. They've found really distinct benefits of having a really good online presence. And both of them have spent a lot of money on their websites. I mean, if BBI's website is famous for having anything you ever want on it and easy to use.
Have you used it? Have you went online and bought from BBI or seen how it works?
Well, no, I personally haven't, because, I have one single screw on my desk to remind me what business I'm in, and that's a broken one.
Right.
But no, I talk to people a lot of time, and they love using BBI's website.
Wow. What's your experience, Tim?
Yeah.
I don't do a lot of buying, but when I have to go on there, it's tough for me. It's nice to see everything. I actually have in SQL, I have Direct Connect, which I can see FCH, BBI, and Stelfast. And it's not as easy as I think it could be, but it's not bad. And the reason we use it is they give you 5% off. So had they not given us 5% off, we probably would call them more. And we still do a lot of phone calls. I think a lot of the business is still made over the phone, and then we buy it online. So I don't think it's as, like people say, we do everything online. Now I can still tell you who runs the Portland branch, who's the regional guy, who's our salesperson. And there's a lot of business that we do that's not online, that we do the regular shipments. But when we negotiate things, we don't do it online.
Well, I take your point, but there's still a very clear direction that things are going. I mean, their warehouses are moving in the direction of automation. Now, does that mean there's no headcount in the warehouse? No way. It's teeming with activity, but the direction's clear. Well, nevertheless, we're all working in this environment, and it's changing, and we'll all be around, I guess, hopefully in a few years to touch base and see where we were right and where we were wrong. I guess one thing that I'll ask you, though, has to do with your own pricing to your customers. If you're going online, have you given a lot of thought to your pricing philosophy going forward if you do go online?
Which night at which time? 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, Monday, Saturday, or Sunday?
It seems to be one of those key questions to making the whole thing work, is the reason I ask.
Yeah, that's the elephant in the room, right? We don't really want to put prices online. We're hoping that our model is not going to be to sell online. It's just to be able to look and order and get quotes, we think. We're not really sure. We're kind of throwing a bunch on the wall and see what sticks.
Fair enough.
Okay. I know that the common advice that from talking to people at NCFA, particularly Darren, I guess, who has to try and work out how to program all this crap, is that the people who start off their website and they have thousands and thousands of exceptions for the same article for every different customer and different conditions and things is a nightmare in terms of maintaining it and, both ways, programming it and then maintaining it. And so, the general view is that the simpler and more consistent pricing system you have, the better it is for all your customers.
That
scares
the web.
So let's turn the page now. Your name came up at a recent dinner that we had with the one and only Carmen Vertullo after the NCFA event last week. And sounds like he spent some time out there at your facility. And it sounds like you guys had a pretty good time. How'd you get mixed up with Vertullo?
Vertullo, I kept seeing everybody doing these, the Fastener Institute where they train people. And I kept thinking, man, that's expensive to send somebody down there for a whole week. I'm like, man, I really, as a small business, I didn't have the whereabouts to send somebody down there for a week. And if I sent more than one, man, that hurts our ship. So I saw Carmen. I'd read and heard a lot about him, especially on your podcast. And I met him in Vancouver? We went up to the Pac West Whistler.
Yep.
And I sat down with him and I told him, I said, he goes, well, you should come to the training. I said, I can't. We run a lean a ship, and how do I send two people? And that'll just kill us for the week. And I said, let me ask you, what do you charge a day? And he said, X. And I said, what if I flew you out here for 3 days and you customize the training to my guys? Because some guys got a lot of knowledge and some of them don't know what. Screw it. So he said, yeah. And I said, let's plan that. And 3 or 4 months later, he flew out for 3 days. I put him in my office. We did meeting after meeting, hour after hour. The meetings were no more than an hour long, and everybody got a 10-minute break. And we had different people in the company come in at different times, so we didn't skip a beat. And he stayed at my house, had a great time. He likes cigars, loves to have a little drink and cigar at night, and sat out there and we talked shop, and he talked about AIM, and we took him fishing. And after 3 days, my guys, I told him, you ask any question you want. We didn't have a script. Okay, at 8 o'clock we're talking this, at 9 this. I'm like, he goes, what do you want to know? I said, yes. Well, what? I said, yes. Whatever they don't know, teach them. And my guy sat down, and the guys dealing with structural bolts talked about structural bolts. The guys dealing with tension control on this talked about that. We really enjoyed it, and we got a lot out of it. We didn't get a certificate, but we had a hell of a time with Carmen.
Yeah, you are a man of action. Who needs the sheepskin when you got the actual the know-how? Well, now you got to rewind a second, Tim. You can't just in passing say we took them fishing without telling us a little detail about that. You know us. I mean, come on. Where'd you go? What'd you do? What do you catch?
So I have a 25-foot pontoon boat I keep on a little fishing lake called Williams Lake, and they stock it full of trout. And I took Carmen down there, and he showed up in a plaid shirt like he was going to a meeting. I said, I think you're not going to want to wear that shirt when you start catching fish and getting blood on it. So I gave him an Action Fastener shirt, sat down, we sat on the boat. The one thing Carmen about flipped out on is we didn't have any cell service. And I said, well, you could put that away for the next 8 hours. We're cell free, baby. Took him out there. He caught a fish in about 5 minutes, nice 2-pound trout. We saw bald eagles diving for fish. He was in seventh heaven. He was having a blast.
Good for you guys.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we tried to get him out when we were here in Ohio together, and he just didn't have time. But next time, you too, you'll have to come out. I know you're a guy who likes to hit the water.
Yes.
Well, you're a guy who has millions of stories, and I'm sure you could tell us a lot more about your adventures with Carmen. Actually, that'd probably be good to line up a segment just to reminisce on the time you had out there. But just in general, lay a good one on us from your experiences over the years on the lead up to your big cash out.
Let me start this one. So in 2008, you remember the market crashed? We were going balls to the walls, literally. I was going crazy. We couldn't get enough business in the door and out the door. And I told everybody, if you want to ask me something about my business, I say that 2008 was the best thing that ever happened to me or my business. And people say, are you crazy? I probably lost $1.5 million overnight between capital and what the company was worth and some properties. I just bought 50 acres and the floor fell out from me. But what I gained from 2008 was I learned how to run a business because I had to watch every freaking penny. And in 2011, I hired a business coach, which was an accountant with a CFO program. And that was the best thing that ever happened to my company. I remember the first year he said, okay, Tim, here's how we're going to do it. He came in, he was real stoic. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Because my other accountant was every year I had to pay tax. I go, hey, what are we going to do? We don't have any money. He goes, you made a lot of money. I said, well, where is it at? What account is it in? Because I don't know where that money is. He said, no, it says on paper, you made a lot of money. I'm like, shit, I don't. I looked at my wife and said, do you know about this money? She said, no. I said, because our bank account is the same. And he said, well, we'll just adjust the books. Adjust the inventory. I'm like, really? Is that okay? He goes, yeah, I can argue that with the IRS. After about 6 years of that, I thought to myself, shouldn't we be able to run a business without having to make an argument? And then I fired him, hired the new guy, which came with the CFO program. He said, we're going to set a budget for you, Tim Jackson, projection. I thought, I'm out of business. He said, this is how many dollars you got to do next year, and here's how you got to do it. And I thought, oh, my God, I can't do this. He said, just stay with me. He says, you're going to do it. He says, you've been doing it every year. You just wing it. I said, well, I'm used to winging it. I wing it all the time. And then we came in every month. We sat down and did the financials, the statements, the balance sheets. And then I learned how every decision I make affects the bottom line. And the best thing I can tell you is when we go back to margin was after about a year into it, we were killing it. We were selling more and doing great. And he said, yeah, you lost $12,000 this month. I looked at him like a puppy turns his head. What? I said, I sold $350,000. He said, yeah, but you lost $12,000. I'm thinking, you got your math wrong. And he said, well, look here. Your margin went from X, it was 5 to 6% less. And we go down the line, there you are, $12,000 loss. And I went, bing, I got it. We just got to raise our margin. He said, yeah. So I went, and the next day I increased my prices by 10% across the board to every customer. And everybody said, you can't do that. They'll drop you. I said, listen, if you want me to be in this business and you want me to sell to you, I have to make more money. Lo and behold, a few years later, I'm killing it. 3 or 4 more years later, company calls me and says, hey, we'd like to buy your company. After I fell over, I got back up. And I thought, okay, we can talk about that. And I said, I'll call you tomorrow. And I went home and I woke up about 2 o'clock in the morning, panicked. I went, oh my God, I can't sell my company. That's who I am. What will I do? And I called him back and said, hey, I need a month to think about this. He said, fine. A month came around and then he called me back and said, hey, we want you to stay there and run it just like you always do. And we'll pay you X plus a bonus. And you can stay 5 years. And by the way, we want to buy it was Wednesday. He says, we're going to buy your company. This is what we're going to pay you. And I'll have the check to you Friday. Again, turned my head like a puppy. You mean like 2 days from now? He goes, yeah. And we did it with no contract. We didn't know he was a lawyer. I had known this guy for 18 years. We did it on a handshake, and he deposited money 15 minutes later in my account, a nice deposit that said, hey, here's the money. And I called my bank. I said, hey, is that safe in there? I've never had more than a couple $1,000. What am I doing with this money? She goes, yeah, we'll lock it up. Friday came. Now, I got to tell you, my accountant came back and said, hey, this is not right. Nobody's ever done this. I said, well, we're going to do it. He said, on a handshake? I said, yeah, my whole business has been ran on a handshake since 1994.
Yeah, I agree. I love this.
Nothing but a handshake. I never do credit apps. I've had less than $25,000 bad debt in 25 years.
Well, knock on wood. And it sounds like you don't really have to knock on too much more wood because you did it the right way. Congratulations. That's a great story.
Thank you. The only advice I would give people that want to sell a business is start 5 years earlier because they take your net sales for 5 years and they do a number on that. And we weren't ready to sell the company, so I had to get a little blue sky in there. It all worked out. I got everything but $75,000 I was asking.
Wow, that's a great story.
Yeah, there are different formulas for business valuation, of course, but in this industry, that sounds pretty much par for the course. And I think you're inspiring a lot of guys out there who may be listening in. There's a lot of people who are kind of playing at that level and aspire to what you've done. And the cool thing is you kind of have your immediate future mapped out, plus you got a kick-ass fishing lake to hit in the meantime.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I don't get up in the middle of the night worrying about payroll, taxes. I worry about how big a fish we're going to catch, how we're going to put 45 pallets that are on the floor on the shelf. It's great problems to have.
And plenty of sawhorses to go around.
Yeah, right.
I told him, this is the kind of company, I said, hey, we need a bigger building. And thinking it would take, a year for them to decide how to do it. A week later, he said, hey, we're going to build you a building. We just bought the property. We're going to build you a 35,000 square foot building. You're going to get 27,000 feet of it. It'll be ready in November. Tilt the head like a dog. What? He said, yeah, we already bought it. When can you start customizing it? I said, wow, what great problems to have. I got 10,000 square feet here. I don't know how we're going to move that 5 miles down the road. And So we're looking for volunteers, Eric.
Tim, you're a man of action, so I have every confidence that you will work it out and it'll go very well.
Yeah, I think so.
Who's your buddy? Who's your pal?
Exactly.
Right?
And I'm very glad that you took the action of reaching out to us and jumping on the podcast with us. I meant that when I said we have to have you and Carmen together, because I think that would make for kind of a lighthearted conversation. We could skip some of the more heavy topics on that one, and you got to put it in your calendar, will you?
Absolutely. Anytime you want, I'm on.
Cool. That's great. Great story. Very encouraging. Okay.
Thank you.
Tim Action Jackson with Action Fasteners in Spokane, Washington.
That I would have called Spokane, incidentally.
See, there you go again. Everybody starts to lose their mind here when someone says that.
That's the British pronunciation of it.
Yeah, roger that.
That makes me feel a little better, Brian. Hopefully you'll forgive us, everyone, and return when we come back in a minute with more Fully Threaded Radio.
Harry, now that you use InSequel software, how do you like it?
InSequel has delivered. They truly are written for fastener distributors. It's affordable and their support staff is great.
We found InSequel's support staff has depth. They know our industry, and they certainly know their software. I see they've helped you pronounce InSequel.
Yes, but what does InSequel mean? Is it written in SQL? Is the data stored in SQL? Are they located in SQL?
InSequel uses the industry standard Microsoft SQL database, which is why it's so powerful and easy to use.
Oh, the database is stored in SQL. I don't even know where that is. I hear it's a nice place.
Harry, InSequel uses a SQL database because it's current technology and your data is completely accessible. No more expensive custom reports.
Is that why InSequel is so easy to use? Where is SQL on the map?
One of their many support members will help you answer that. Go to their website, www.inxsql.com, or call toll-free 877-446-9775.
BTM Manufacturing is a domestic ISO 9001 manufacturer of threaded fasteners and bent wire products. From anchor bolts to studs to U-bolts, BTM is committed to making your per print special with the highest quality standards while meeting your on-time delivery schedule. Since BTM began in 1961, this family-owned business has remained focused on providing exceptional service to their customers. Centrally located in Kansas City, Missouri, BTM recently expanded into a 100,000 square foot facility, which allows for the production and manufacture of many projects simultaneously, both large and small quantity. BTM's website at btm-mfg.com allows you to submit custom quotes quickly and easily, and once you do, a BTM team member will contact you as soon as possible to discuss your needs. Are you ready to get started? BTM is. Visit www.btm-mfg.com today. Searching for a hard-to-locate, fill-in, or oddball industrial fastener item? Get out to the FCH sourcing network at fastenersclearinghouse.com. FCH is the search engine for hard-to-locate fastener items. Free to use, over 1.5 million fasteners. That's why we call it Scroogle. It's the FCH sourcing network. fastenersclearinghouse.com.
Hi, this is John Riddell from Solution Industries, and you are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you on the online fastener groove machine, Fully Threaded.
Groovy. Huh.
Well, Brian, I have to tell you, I really enjoyed talking with Tim Action Jackson, and when he was talking about doing all that business on a handshake, I just was nodding my head and I love hearing stories like that. It's not that I hate lawyers or anything, but
yeah, it should be that you can conduct business without lawyers. Yeah, actually, when I first arrived in Texas, the legal contract you could shake hands, and that was a legal binding contract. It was a very sort of refreshing sort of thing.
Well, it kind of reminded me of the way that we've done a lot of what we've done over the years.
Yeah.
And so I found it really heartwarming to talk with Tim. And we'd like to thank him and congratulate Tim Jackson for his achievement, selling his business and all that. And thank him for appearing on Fully Threaded Radio. Also like to thank Damon Carson, another entrepreneur doing well. He's with Repurposed Materials. And Rick Peterson of All-West Components and Supply sat in with us to take a look at the most recent Fastener Distributor Index. Carmen Vertullo presented the Fastener Training Minute. Excellent job as always, Carm.
Yes.
And Morgan Wilson with Emerald Expositions gave us the first of a couple of previews of what's going to happen this year at the International Fastener Expo in Vegas. Don't forget, everybody, it's early this year in September.
And they're going to turn the lights down.
But you could still walk around wearing shades if you want to look cool.
Well, we don't all have the Solution Industries special ones, okay?
Yeah, I had those out at the NCFA Social, courtesy of Laura Vath.
Yeah, I know.
Who knows? Maybe she'll have them again this year. Our sponsors take care of us. And speaking of sponsors, the title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stellfast. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's still Stellfast. And Brighton Best International. Tested, tried, and true. Fully Threaded is also sponsored by Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, Fastener Technology International, InSequel Software, Indie Industries, Parker Fasteners, The Worth Group, Volt Industrial Plastics, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man, and those cool sunglasses.
And all their matching T-shirts. You can always tell where the Solution guys are all, and girls are actually all around.
They do a good job with that.
They do.
Please let us know how we're doing, folks, or what you think of the podcast. The email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com. Or out on Twitter, the handle's fullythreaded. Well, Bri, we're not going to prattle on too much at the end of this particular episode. I think we covered quite a bit, jammed a lot in. Plus, I got a few people ragging at me a little bit because our last episode was a little lengthy, shall we say? Oh, that's right. You might have had a little bit to do with that.
Wow, if they had trouble with that, they might have trouble with this one.
Wouldn't take the bait, would you? Well, that relates to what I wanted to say here to close this one out, because when you were in Cleveland, or the Cleveland area, I should say, recently for the NCFA Distributor Social, we got out on the water a little bit, and I'd like to congratulate you because you started out the 2019 season by scoring big with a really nice muskie, courtesy of the FCH Thread Shad. I got a photo of that out there on our Twitter feed, and way to go, buddy. You did well.
Right, but I did well, as did you. We got the same length muskie, same size muskie. Different days.
Yeah, we got a few in the boat during our limited time out there, but it's a great way to start. And, well, for you, though, man, I really, you don't get as many chances to get out there.
Right, I needed that. I had a very tough year in Canada last year, so this was welcome change, okay? And also, we should have noted that, in case you haven't figured out by now, Fully Threaded Radio is brought to you by the crowd called Fasteners Clearinghouse, or the FCH Sourcing Network.
We just don't say it often enough, Bri.
I know. We still get people who have no idea there's any connection.
Well, it's a good reason to keep producing Fully Threaded Radio, and that's what we intend to do, folks, because that's going to put this one in the can. We hope you'll join us for the next one.
Yeah.
For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Until then, get out there, sell some screws, and we'll talk to you next time.
Till next time, folks.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fasteners Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.
Action Jackson is my name. Bold adventure is my game. Think of what you'd want to be, then call on me.
I want to be a frogman.
Action Jackson. Action Jackson.
An Aussie Marine.